Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Yes, I am back. Picked up some very bad habits. I am a total of 5 minutes late. I am on fresh and fit time officially. But you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. It's my midweek Wednesday show. It's too important not to do this one today. Too important. What do you think of Matt Walsh? Anybody want to have sex with this guy? Oh man, you're hitting right. You're punching right, Rollo. No, I'm not punching right today. And no, he's not on the show today either. All right, now let's bring this down and distill this down to something that's usable, or what can you expect in the future, that's coming here. Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here because we just said this. Okay, the hypergamy is a reason for abortion. Okay, It's like nothing says he ain't the right guy than the universal right to end the pregnancy, end his genetic legacy in utero. So, I don't want to. Now you're a little too beta for me. I'm not going to have your babies. Oh, you're alpha. I'm going to have your babies, but I'm going to pretend that it's going to be what is it? Myron's illegitimate children on Instagram, right? Yeah. And so we're gonna pretend like I'm gonna have Chad's baby. I'm gonna pretend it's your baby. Like cuckoldry is something that is not too difficult to get away with these days. However, okay, so you've got hypergamy. We've already established that that abortion is a fail-safe, but okay, it is a way a man does not need to assume any responsibility. You're gonna hear this. Well, what about the guy? If you just would have kept his pecker in his pants, then that's the easiest way to avoid an abortion. So if you guys could just, right? Yeah, well, it's a fair argument. But the thing is like when you look at the stats, like when we talk about the GSS study and how like it's like guys between the ages of 18 and 29 aren't having sex at all. They're virgins, or they are just simply they're incels. And we go, oh, you're an incel. But the thing is like, women are the ones that are still having sex at relatively normal rates. It's guys who are not having sex. So that's another data point we can correlate with what we've just been talking about. But here's my thing is a man does not need to assume any responsibility in his actions. He does not need, or does he not need to wear prophylactics, but to force his partner to abort. It's easy for him. People are going to say that those abortions that were elective it's men strong arming these women into having those abortions. Or they'll say, well, if you would just keep your dick in your pants, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. So responsibility without authority, once again, here we are. So we've got the responsibility for the pregnancy, but the problem is that's putting the cart before the horse. So once you, as men, once you get a woman pregnant, you're powerless. The decision is no longer yours. So the decision to have sex might be the man and the woman, but the decision for the abortion is on you. That's it. It is only women get to decide that. And they're very, very outrageously vocal about that because they want everyone to know that you stay out of my government, out of my uterus. Okay. Well, the problem is that when people ask me like to explain responsibility versus authority, and I've always said, responsibility without authority is slavery. And thank you, turd flinging monkey, for that when I ripped you off. But it holds true. Okay, so the responsibility of the pregnancy might still be the two people coming together, but the responsibility for the abortion is all on the woman. So what they're doing is they're trying to conflate those two. Well, if we could just head those guys off at the pass and keep their the guys are just walking around with random hard-ons and women are just slipping and falling on top of them or something like that. That's not what's happening. Okay, once the sperm leaves your body, you are 100% powerless at that time. And so whether or not a baby gets born is the decision of the mother. One sex, only one, not both of them. One sex gets to decide that by law, now by state law, but only one sex gets to decide that. once the sperm leaves your body, you're effectively powerless at that time, and that's the discussion. So gentlemen, whenever you're faced with this argument where they're saying, well, if you would just kept your pecker in your pants, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the sex that happened that caused the pregnancy. We're talking about the pregnancy once the baby's in the uterus and the woman decides to terminate the pregnancy. So, and that's where like the Trandcon argument kind of falls apart, because they'll say, well, abortion is murder. Okay, well, if it is, then are you prepared to prosecute women for murder one? Because it's premeditated murder. It meets the definition for premeditated murder. So Matt Walsh, are you willing to prosecute women who get an abortion for murder one?
Wow.
Answer that. Answer me that. Riddle me that, Batman.
I told you guys we're going to be impartial on this one. I told you guys. Well, even the conservatives we're talking to them too.
What is a woman? Okay, what is an abortion? Is it murder? Because if it is, you got to be ready to prosecute for that, because we would prosecute anyone else for the same thing.
Prior abortions, everyone's going to jail.
Yeah. And
well, you can't. That's after the fact.
Yeah, that's after the fact. How are we doing, people? How are we doing? Let me bring my volume back up. I am back in the saddle once again. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining me on such short notice. I figured I better do a show. I have been gone for the last, 10 days, 9 days, certainly that. What do you got for me today? I've been saying that women are the only ones that have bodily autonomy for years. Finally glad it's getting talked about much more. Much love from Ontario. Thank you very much. Yeah, they do. That actually is an old school, I want to say that's an old school MRA line, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that is. Let's see, who do I have in the chat today? I've got Sam Bada has got the band Hammer out, so everybody play nice. Cernovich was thanking me. What was he thanking me about? Thank you, Rollo. Your work has helped me in so many ways. I don't know if that's Mike C. That's not Mike Cernovich. Thanks. Trust me, he'll be the last person thanking me for anything at this stage. Let's see, what else do we got going on today? Sammy, thanks for staying on top. Black Label Expat says, Rollo, what is the best way to contact you? Email me at rtrationalmail@gmail.com. The best way to contact me is to actually look in the goddamn description here, because I have so many different ways to contact me what am I doing it for? Okay, so, I already tried Gmail, Insta, Twitter, blah, blah. What are you trying to get in touch with me for? Is it for what is this? I think the server gods are silencing my emails. I doubt that, highly doubt that. But anyways, if anybody want to get in touch with me, all my contact information is always below. I am renovating the studio right now. As you can see, I got a little bit of bare wall over here. I'm moving things around. I'm trying to get the double camera action going on here. I have upgraded quite a bit in here recently. I've got coming inbound, I think this week, I've got a new lens for this good camera right here. And let's see if I can get that. There we go. And then, by the way, new guitar. Check that out. I know I have to start with all the good news first, because today's going to be kind of like a heavy ass show for you guys. But you guys want to see it? You want to do? Okay. So just before we start the show, this is I can't really call it a guitar. It's like more like a lute or something. I guess it's a lute. Is this a lute? Does this qualify as a lute? You like that? This is my Ned lute. I it's pretty nice too. It's a 3-string little lute kind of thing. I thought it deserved a pride of place today, simply because I had a good friend of mine. His name is Old Ragnar. He goes by Old Ragnar, and he works for a company. I think they've called it Raven Kelt now, is what it's really called. But you can look up Raven Kelt, Kelt. Raven Kelt on Instagram. It is also known as Instrument Conversions, and what they do is they take stuff like this and they do custom art in a Celtic / Gaelic / Norse, whatever. I think he's even done some Native American stuff as well too, and some Alaskan stuff too, like designs on instruments. And he showed me some designs, and I saw this and I fell in love with the actual, because I have a cigar box guitar downstairs, and it's also 3 strings. And I saw this and I go, man, I really want one of those. And he goes, yeah. He says, what would you want on it? And so I said, well, and he showed me some designs, and the original design I think was like a dragon, or it was like a snake or something. I said, can you put a greyhound on there? And so he did. So this is now, I don't know if you can see it, but on the headstock there's like Norse runes on there, and it says NED. So that's the Ned. That's the Ned loot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it is. It's actually very, yeah, thank you. Yes, it is very well made. If you want one yourself, go check out Instrument Conversions on Instagram, or I think they maybe have renamed it to Ravenkelt, Ravenkelt. Go check it out. So anyways, there's your plug, old Ragnar. Oh, and I got a shout out to his I want to say it's his son, Soka, who also does work on this kind of stuff too. Anyways, getting back to it. So I am just now back in the saddle here once again. I am back from Miami. We did a lot of what you just saw on the intro here that I did with the guys in Miami. I did that in Brickell. Actually, my whole point for being out in Miami was really to go to the Rebel Capitalist, which I was at from Thursday through Sunday, and we had a huge turnout. I posted a few pictures on Instagram. And I always like going to the Hilton downtown Miami because they have such a huge like convention room there. And it's great to see like what a real convention looks like. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. I mean, there was just so many people there. I'm used to I guess maybe I'm used to smaller conventions. But there was, I think in the convention room, there's at least 500 people in there at one point. And that to me, that's like, wow, there's a lot of people that want to come out for this. And not for the least of which, because it's in Miami, Florida. But I was out there last week, and I went to, I was of course on Fresh and Fit. I was on Fresh and Fit with, solo. And then I was on with Dr. Oz, who actually gave me an oud, another stringed instrument. And he is from Istanbul, Turkey. I was hanging out with him for a while, and I am now invited to Istanbul, and I will probably go to Istanbul sometime before the end of this year. So we're working out like logistics for that. I will also be in Playa del Carmen at some point. I think it's going to be the middle of September. I've also got an upcoming event in Brazil, which is going to be, and I believe it's Sao Paulo. That'll be on the 20th of October. So if you want to catch me there, I'm going worldwide this year, man. It's the Rollo Tomasi World Tour. I also have a standing open invitation to go to Nairobi, Kenya. So I will hopefully be able to make that happen with Andrew Kibe. And I don't know. We'll see wherever I am led, wherever the spirit leads me today. And then of course I can always go to good old Connecticut, right, Kevin? I think I'm still invited to go hang out with the Savo boys. I got to do that at least once a year, so I'll probably make my way out there. I'm also going to Lake Tahoe very soon. Watch my Instagram, subscribe to me on Instagram, or follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. I never really say that at the beginning of my shows. I know I probably should, but I figure you guys don't want me to get too much, you do too much housekeeping in the beginning, so I really kind of wait till the end, and then I kind of regret doing that. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I am on Instagram. If you want to see just how good looking a motherfucker that I am, got some good pictures on there. You know what? Oh gosh, thank goodness I thought of this. Also Mike Tang, Mike Orangutan, the guy who did my photo shoot last May. Photos are up and we're good to go. You know what's funny? I'll tell you a funny story. That might happen pretty soon, Kanye. I'm working on it. I've got a few invitations. I got some people who really want me to come out to the UK, so I might do that. But if I go to the UK, I kind of want to do it in summertime. So that's coming up. If I go to the UK, I will probably also make a trip over to Holland as well. So the Netherlands. I know I'm not supposed to say Holland. You're not hip if you call it Holland. Anyways, that is a distinct possibility, Kanye. I'm working out on details. I can't really announce that the bread's not baked on that one just yet, so we'll see how it goes. However, if you are interested, tomorrow on Adam Sosnick's show on Valuetainment on the Saucecast, a guest on with Adam Sosnick that I have been trying to do really since last month is Mike Tang and his wife and probably 2 or 3 of the girls that work with him. So that will be a very, very interesting show. Go check that out. And yes, we're gonna get to it today. Don't worry. I realize Ruslan was on Adam Sosnick, and I kind of have a confession to make, but we'll wait till later in the show before I make that confession. So my confession for you. Okay. What did you say? Holland is the hardcore feminist. Yes, you are correct. I'm fully aware of that, my friend. You do not need to inform me. You don't need to tell me anymore. I already picked up on that. Boy, where to even start today? Okay, so I originally launched in here with the video for today. That was from my 4-hour podcast with Fresh and Fit, because we had sound issues on the first video I did, and we had to cut it short. And so I kind of felt like I needed to do a make good show. And so that's what I did. We went for 4 solid hours. We went so long that Fresh had to leave for a yacht party in between in the middle of that show. And so then I kind of slid over into his chair, and it was the Rollo and Fit show for about 2 hours after that. And we talked some good stuff on that show. That was a really good conversation. I always do with Myron. I don't think people certainly don't give Fresh and Myron enough credit for being red pill, but like understanding like principles and concepts. I think maybe people get that from Myron, but they don't really realize just like how Fresh is. Fresh understands this stuff, but he's like crazy like a fox. It's like play a sucker to catch a sucker, and he's way more intelligent about this stuff than I think a lot of people give him credit for. But he likes that. He likes to be underestimated because it's like a strength. So anyways, the show was very good. It was for 4 hours, and that's what that was from. And the reason why I wanted to do today's topic is because right around the middle of this show, or I think I got back to the hotel room, and somebody sent me today's video that I'm going to sort of dissect a little bit here. And I swear to God, man, I could probably start an entirely different channel based on nothing but reactions, or reacting to my haters, reacting to the latest bullshit video, right? I forget who it was. I think I got this from Ben Shapiro. He was quoting somebody else, and he was saying it's to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude greater than it is to create bullshit. And so you kind of just have to let things slide sometimes, because you putting all that mental energy into it, like, will prevent you from doing actually really good work and like writing the next book or writing whatever, and doing greater things. So usually whenever I'm dealing with haters, or I'm dealing with people who are just they just simply don't understand what I have to say or what's going on. It's not because they don't understand, it's because they won't understand. And thank you, PP, for that. You get one of those, PP. I will say your name, PP. And then, by the way, not on this show, but because this is the midweek show, I'll pretty much read anything, whether it's a super chat or it's not, just simply because I want everybody. This is a big tent. Oh, it's my ghost shirt, by the way. This is a big tent. And I like it when like people are coming here. I've always wanted to have like sort of these group conversations. And one of the things I really like to do, and I did this several times at Rebel Capitalist, is I like it when I can just sit down in a lounge somewhere, and people just will congregate, and we'll just have this back and forth. That's why I go to conventions. That's why I go and do these things, even if it's not necessarily a red pill one. It's nice to be able to just sit down, and then people kind of just come in and we just talk, right? I mean, that's what it's about. It's an aggregate. It's a marketplace of ideas, and I really like that a lot. So I am announcing right now that I will be doing my Wednesday live streams as a permanent thing. I don't know how long I will go on them. I certainly won't go 4 hours, I promise you. but I think I will at least go for 2 hours on my Wednesday or my midweek live streams. I decided I was going to do that. I wanted to sort of put out a better effort, I think, to do that, because I kind of do them when I feel like it or when I can. I also do a counseling session for several guys. I think we're up to 14 guys right now. We had 10 on the last one, didn't we? But if you join my Patreon, you can get in on the Zoom calls that I do once a month. They're 2 hours long, and we've got right now, I think we've had 10 or 12 guys who are in the last one, and they're really good. Again, congregating and sharing ideas, and it's not just me blathering on and on. I mean, I'll give you my analysis. I'm not a counselor. I'm an analyst, so I will analyze your situation. And then also, yes, I am still doing private counseling if that's something that you want or need. I do have your emails if you've already sent them to me. I am, as I've seen, is JB in this chat right now? I'm looking at JB. I've got some guys that I'm working with right now. I'm still taking more applicants, I guess. I don't even know what to call them. But again, I'm an analyst, and I will be happy to do some analysis for you. Matt Walsh collab, boy, not in this life. Probably Matt Walsh is one of those guys who's like untouchable, and I guess he got to that point with probably because of Daily Wire. I can remember, by the way, people sometimes give me grief for coming at Candace Owens. I remember when Candace Owens was very much involved in sort of the quote unquote red pill political side of things way back in 2015, 2016, prior to Trump getting the presidency. She used to go by Red Pill Black on Twitter. That used to be her Twitter handle. So don't come at me for having my name as Rollo Tomasi when Candace Owens was Red Pill Black back in the day. Ask her about that. If you ever find yourself in front of her, ask her about that. Sponsored today by Devil Mountain Coffee. Finally back in the saddle again. Oh, by the way, Christina, who is the assistant for the guys on Fresh and Fit, thank you for getting Devil Mountain Coffee in the studio. That was awesome. She took it upon herself. That's what you want, guys. You want a girl who takes initiative, and she knows what you like. All right. So I wanted to get into, I do have my notes today. I don't know if you can see them. I write a lot of notes. Also, just a couple things before I get started here. Adam Sosnick, I was on with him and George Gammon. That was last Thursday. Go check that out. I was also on with Leah Heilpern, who has done Cobra Tate. And I mean, not in the biblical sense, but has had him on. That's Leah, LAYAHHEILPERN. I hope I'm saying that right. She assures me that interview will come out this week, so we'll see what that looks like. I went for about 2.5 hours with her, as you might guess, and then also I was on Maz Hakim's show in Dubai. I didn't actually go there; I did it remote, of course. But what? Well, thank you, my friend. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. No homo sapien, but you look good on Fresh and Fit with the Pantene Pro Hair, bright lighting. Yes, the lighting there is very flattering. I try to make the lighting by the way, this camera right here, this is my A6400. There is no facial smoothing technology whatsoever on this. The Z10 over here, there is, but I don't put it on. I try never to put it on. I talked a little bit about what was it? Zoom dysmorphia. You guys heard about Zoom dysmorphia? Zoom dysmorphia is what happens when women want to go to the cosmetic surgeon and they say, Dr. Oz, make me look like my Instagram. That's the real me. I don't look like the real me in this world. It's almost like the Matrix, right? I don't look like me in this world. Please make me look like in the real world, Dr. Oz. Make me look like I do in the digital world, in my virtual world. And they're starting to see, they have a word for it. They have a disorder. They've got a title or some kind of terminology for it, but it's called Zoom dysmorphia. Yes. Oh, do you want to talk about that? Because I am more than happy to talk about that.
Say my
Yes, I know. He came out as bisexual. That is our good for the fat kid in Brazil. In case you don't know what his name is, that's it right there. I won't say it on here. This is the son of a bitch who keeps calling me a liar and putting shit all over my face, and who, by the way, is an employee of the 21 Studios. So just so you know. But in case you were wondering, oh, by the way, Allende also comes out as gay at 2 weeks before we find out that John Anthony has had sex with at least 4 trannies in his life. Oops, I said tranny. Transmissions, pause attraction, those kinds of trannies, though that need that need fluid. Do you have any tranny fluid? That's what we're talking about here, YouTube. Just transmissions, automatic, manual transmissions. That's what we're talking about. Nothing to do with anything else here. Just let me clarify that for you. Yes, Allende. Wow, I had no idea he was a gay male dancer until recently. And he is also confirmed to speak at the 21 convention in October. I think probably John Anthony is too. So we've got a guy who has admitted to having intimate relations with members of the same sex, and is quite proud of it. Go look it up. It's all over YouTube. Oh man, I tell you, sometimes all you got to do is just wait. Really, I don't believe in karma. I really don't. Sometimes I just think, if you're screwed, you're screwed. So sometimes bad luck is just simply bad luck. It's not what comes around goes around. It's like you make your own luck, right? Or you make your own karma, I think. But every once in a while, somebody gets what's coming to you. You're gonna get what you deserve. Get what's coming to them. Yes. So if you're interested in listening to how to be a more manly man from, let's see, a gay male dancer who, by the way, has been doing it for something like 10 or 12 years now, and a guy who has intimate relations with other men who dress like women, well, then by all means, go, please sign up for the 21. I'm going to endorse the 21 convention if that's you. Oh, God. So anyways, let's get it back to it. So what happened this week, guys? What happened? Well, the U.S. Supreme Court of the United States, which is the highest court in the land, in case you don't know what that is the judiciary, the judicial branch of the government, of the three branches of the government here in the United States. And lo and behold, they did everything I said that they would do when I did the vasectomy episode. Do you guys remember that? Of course you don't, because it was 10 or 11 months ago. And it was summertime. And what did I tell you? I said they are going to be hearing this case from the state of Mississippi about Roe v. Wade. And I made this prediction as far back, and I want to say it was June of last year. But if you go and you look, and I don't have it queued up, I probably should have had it queued up today. But I did two episodes. I did one that was about. I did one that very recently about abortion, and then as soon as the leak happened, as soon as the SCOTUS leak happened, I did a show on abortion because I said this is coming up. I started seeing the signs, but I think I'm better than I thought I was, because I had to kind of go back in time in history, and I had to go look at the vasectomy show, because what was that? Okay, well, I was talking about vasectomies, but the reason I did is because you're hearing the same crap. It's 1 year later. Remember I told you how these things happen in cycles? 1 year later, now we're hearing the same thing. Well, men should just get a vasectomy if they want to stop abortion. Exactly what senators and congresswomen, that one congresswoman, I can't remember her name, she's out of Florida too. And she was saying something like, well, men, here's what we ought to do. We're going to put a law on the books, and we're going to say that men, when they're hit puberty, they're going to have to be basically sterilized, right? And we're going to do reversible vasectomies, which is not a good idea. I don't think that they are 100% reversible, but regardless, this is fantasy land anyways, right? So we're going to perform reversible vasectomies on men, and we won't let them have children until they are responsible enough to have kids and have a job, and women have to go before a panel of people who say, okay, you can have kids now, Junior, right? I'm all for that. I'm like, 100%, please do. I would. That's better. That's more control than men have had over their own bodies in a long time. And as odd as that sounds, right? I'm all for guys getting, as long as it could be like reversible, that would be awesome. Because then what would have to happen is men and women would actually have to get together and say, do you want to have a kid? Yes. Do you want to have a kid? Yes. Bam. And you have the kid, rather than the baby's yours. This kid is yours. I think so. I'm going to put your name on the birth certificate. And unless you contest this, the baby is yours. Don't believe me? We're going to get to that today too. We're right now, when it comes to paternity, it's whoever that woman puts on the birth certificate. And if you don't contest it and you go, well, she would never do that to me. Oh, she would never cuckold me. As long as you believe that and you have this emotional thing between her and you're like, oh, I don't want her to not. It's a trust issue. I'm not going to ask her for a DNA test. Imagine a DNA test is mandatory. It's like you have to do a DNA test. Then what? I think that would screw over a lot of women, right? There's a law. I don't know if it actually passed, but there was legislation recently. I think I talked about this actually probably this time last year, about in Utah. I don't know if it passed. Somebody can tell me if it did, but in Utah, they were going to say, well, tell you what, we're going to allow for, like, we're going to give you some stipulations to abortion. And we're going to allow abortion in Utah, which is, of course, the Mormonist state in the union here. And but the thing is like, we're going to make sure that when the woman has the baby, or she's decided to have the child, because she's the one who decides to have the child, that the man who is the father is going to be at least 50% responsible financially for the prenatal care. And I was like, well, hot damn, that's great. Awesome. Because what that presumes is that you know who the father is. You know damn well that the father this is who it is biologically. And I said, well, we should probably add a stipulation to that as well, which should say something to the effect of like, well, what happens if the baby, you know what we should do? You should have the blood test after the baby is born. And so the guy's paying, 50% out for whatever it is for his child. And if it comes out and the baby comes out and it is not biologically his child, because DNA tests would have to be mandatory for something like that, because how else would you find out whether that guy's on the hook for 50% of the costs? So there would have to be some sort of presumption of paternity on the part of the guy. Now, I would be all for any of this. I'd be happy to see any of this kind of stuff. Okay. But the problem is it would have to be 100% for sure that kid is the guy is the actual biological father, which is more control over the human reproductive process than men have enjoyed in 65 years, certainly since Roe v. Wade, certainly since 1971, 74? I think so. 74 was Roe v. Wade, I believe. Certainly since then. So right now there is no presumption of paternity on the part of the father, unless that guy says, give me that swab, let's make sure that this kid is mine. So I'm not paying the right thing. Because right now, if the man does not contest the paternity of the woman, of the mother, putting his name on that birth certificate, it is very difficult to get your name off of that birth certificate. I'll read you I wrote about this as far back as 2015. But that is more control over the human reproductive process than men have ever had in a very long time. So I'm all for it, as long as there's a DNA test. And also, if that kid comes out and it turns out that that's not the guy's not actually the biological father, and she wants to have him on the hook for 50% of the prenatal care, guess what you're guilty of, ladies? You're guilty of fraud. And so now not only do you have to pay for the half that he paid, or repay him anyways, you should also have to pay for punitive damages for trying to trick him into believing that the child was his, because potentially that's 18 years of financial investment in that child that you try to defraud that man of. If that's on the books, if that's part of the legislation, go for it. You got my vote. Here it is. I'll move to Utah and I'll establish residency and I'll vote right away for something like that. Never effing happen. That will never happen, because at some point along the way they'll go, whoa, wait a minute. The jig is up if we do this. And what kills me is we've been able to do DNA testing since I think the mid 70s, certainly the late 70s, and yet that's not standard practice, right? Well, you have fun with practicing abstinence, my friend Dragon Lord. Please do. Please. I mean, by all means. No, I can't do that. Wait a minute. Where'd you put that? Oh, here you are. There you go. I'll put you up. Here's that attention you wanted. Well, you and a lot of other people. I'm not shitting on you or anything like that, but you and a lot of other people, and we're going to talk about that here. In fact, you know what? Let's just get into it today. What I'm going to dig into today is Matt Walsh's screed. I think it's about 10 minutes long, and so I'm going to sort of riff on this for a little bit, because I think this is sort of endemic of the narrative that's going on right now when it comes to abortion. No one wants a solution. We're clear here. I'm gonna give away the ending right now. No one wants a solution. No one cares. Remember, if there is no boogeyman, then nobody gets paid. And Matt Walsh is being paid handsomely for the bullshit you're about to see right now. And you know who else is? All them people who are out there screaming in the streets, and all the people that Matt is criticizing in this video. And again, this is not defense of either one. I'm certainly not defending the purple hair feminists that are out in the streets twerking, getting naked. They always get naked. I am in no way defending this, but I want you to see both sides of this, because I think a lot of people think that if you aren't one, you're the other. Everything is so friggin' binary, and there's a third position. And I would like to think that I am in that third position. People always ask me this. They'll say, well, Rollo, are you pro-choice or are you pro-life? Blah, blah. I say, I'm pro-sanity. I'm pro-objective reasoning. I'm the one who shits in your cereal, man. That's what this is. I will rub your nose in it too, Matt Walsh. I will rub your nose in it, purple hair, wokesy feminist. I will do both. I will do both of this. I will get both of you. I'll put both. You know what I would really love to do, and I think I've mentioned this on Fresh and Fit, but I also mentioned and I mentioned this on Adam Sosnick not too long ago. Matt Walsh, by the way, has a documentary called "What Is a Woman," and I saw Jedediah Bila, by the way, on Valuetainment talking about this not too long ago. And again, I'm not coming at her, but again, it's this misinterpretation. Because once you get like sort of invested into your ideological stance, then anything that is counter to that seems like it's immoral or it's bad. Now, remember, the left, the wokesy left, and again, this is not a political podcast. It never will be. But I do talk about intersectional dynamics, and sometimes that crosses over into politics, and sometimes that crosses over into ideology and religion and sociology and there's a lot of subfields, I think, in the red pill that we just simply don't want to talk about. But we have to cross those. We have to cross that Rubicon, occasionally, and this is one of those occasions. So again, I'm not left. I am not right. I am in this podcast. I am objective. I'm trying to stay as objective as I possibly can here. And I will tell you this right now: is like guys like Matt Walsh are disingenuous in the extreme. As extreme, I would say, as the wokesy left. Now, just because you agree with one or the other, remember the wokesy left and the women screaming in the streets right now at the top of their lungs, incoherently, believe in their position just as fervently as Matt Walsh does in today's video. So let's keep that in mind as I'm picking my way through this. I don't want to share screens. I want to share the video with you. Hang on one second. There we go. And it is, where did it go? Oh, okay. There we go. Pro. Where are you? Nope, that's not it. This is us. Here we go. This is pretty funny. You guys are going to get a laugh at it. Today is Wednesday is the comedy hour. Trust me.
Today, we quite happily cancel hookup culture. But I'm not the one canceling it. Not by myself anyway. For today, I joined hands with pro-abortion feminists in delivering this cancellation. Ironically, the anti-hookup culture cause makes for strange bedfellows. So in response to the termination of Roe v. Wade, the reaction from abortion enthusiasts has stretched across the horishness spectrum. In many cities around the country, protesters who skimp on...
We're already using it. I love it, man. Keep it going, man. Savage Walsh is the best Walsh. Keep it going. Keep it coming, man.
Clothing never on meals have defiantly paraded their half-naked bodies around, oftentimes twerking aggressively like some kind of weird and ghastly mating ritual.
Primates do this too, by the way. Just saying. I mean, I realize how religious the guy is, but I actually, have I done that? There's a video around. I'm kind of reluctant to put it on this podcast, but there's a video that's been going around. I think it was on Steve Stewart Williams' Twitter account, where he was like posting some video of like a gorilla, of like female gorillas trying to get the male gorilla, the alpha male, to like come at him, and it looks just like twerking. I mean, exactly like twerking. Is it echo right now? Give me a 1 in the chat if it's still echoing. Is it echoing right now? I thought I took it off. Hold on. Oh, it's me. My bad. How about now? Is that better? Okay. I took it off. I'm sorry. We're coming back. Don't worry. I did the wrong thing. I flipped when I should have flopped. My bad. Okay. Now is it good now? Is it good now? Here. Listen to him.
Here was the scene in Dallas, for example. Check it out.
You guys remember who Trigglypuff is? I'll go dig her up.
If anything could ever make me mourn the end of Roe, it would be a scene like that. But Roe itself was such a monstrosity that even these sorts of nightmarish spectacles are a cost worth paying. Watching that video, I don't regret that Roe was overturned, but I do perhaps regret that I am not blind. But in any case, here.
Attempts at humor. Yes, the right can't meme either. Just saying. Right and left don't meme very well.
Here we have women wielding their sexuality as a weapon. It's just not clear what the weapon is supposed to accomplish or what it's supposed to destroy besides their dignity and my appetite. But on the
okay, so one-liners aside, Matt, shall we start here? Oh, you guys want to see this? Okay, I'll give this to you. My goodness. You guys make me do stuff like this. In case you didn't know who Trigglypuff is, who Trigglypuff? That was such a long time ago, right? Anybody know who Trigglypuff is? Looks like almost exactly like that fat chick that was in that video. This is Trigglypuff. Let me see if I can put her up. That's Trigglypuff. Come on, you guys got to know your memes. You go to that site, know your memes, type in Trigglypuff, and you'll get an idea. Like that looks like that girl, like so like granddaughter of Trigglypuff, because that was from like 2013 or 2012, I think. No, actually, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 2014, 2015, because I remember she was like protesting in Berkeley or something like that, and she was like, ah. Anyways, getting back to what our good friend Matt's talking about here. Okay, first off, Matt, hookup culture is not dead. You didn't kill it. They didn't kill it. Nobody's killed it. It's been dead for a long time, actually. There's no such thing as hookup culture. I've done full videos on this. All right. So coming back to the idea that we have, this hookup culture, finally it's dead and it's gone. No, it's not, dude. As long as humans are humans, they're going to want to fuck. Simple as that. That's the way it is. You're not going to kill hookup culture. All right. And guess what? The funny thing is it's not actually men who are killing hookup culture or who have stopped it. It's women would love to keep going with hookup culture. It's women primarily who participate in hookup culture. How dare you? How could you possibly say such a thing, Rollo? I can't believe you. You must be a raging misogynist. How dare you? No, I'm not, because all I need is the GSS studies from 2018 here to show you. Okay? Lack of sex is driven mainly by the young. Okay, this came out in 2018. This has been around for a while. You should have access to this, Matt. If you want these, I'll be happy to email these data sets to you. People aren't having sex. That's the whole thing. The last half of the millennials and most of Gen Z clearly here, they're not having sex. There is no hookup culture. Like, put that out of your head. You know what hookup culture? The last time I heard hookup culture used in a serious sense was back in like 2012 or 2014. Like, this college sets where we're gonna go to ASU, right? Arizona State University, because that's a party school, right? There's hookup culture is at ASU, and I'm sure there's some grads in here who are gonna back me up on this as well. But let's also look at a few other things here, because no one is having sex. Why no one wants to have sex is with Matt Walsh. Haha, gotcha. That's today's the title of today's show. However, this is what I meant. Young male virginity is on the rise. The share of men under the age of 30 who report zero female sex partners since they turned 18. This is from 1989 all the way up to where we're at right now. It started in 2008. Look at that 27% jump right there, Matt Walsh. There is no hookup culture. Not for men anyways, because we already know that there is for women. You know how we know? Because we've got this stat right here as well. Okay. Now, women their sexlessness has jumped up a little bit, but men have outclassed them, outpaced them by at least 10% in the last 10 years, or certainly since 2008 to 2018. Now, this set, what does this say? Young men driving the decline in sex. I have used these stats over and over and over again. I'm sure there are lots of other people online who've done the same thing as well, Matt. There is no hookup culture. I keep throwing this out there, and you just keep throwing it back. You're just a poor marksman, my friend. You don't hit the mark here. You know why? Because you don't want to hit the mark. Either you can't or you won't. And I can only presume that you don't want to hit the mark with this. Okay, this is here. It's been available for a long time. The share of men and women between the ages of 18 and 30 reporting no sex in the past year. Got it? See how that worked out? And this is only 2018. God only knows what it is right now. God only knows. Not me. Maybe you could find that out. You work for Daily Wire. You've got a whole lot more resources than I ever will. Why don't you go look that up, Matt? There ain't no hookup culture. And I'll tell you what didn't kill it. Certainly wasn't Roe v. Wade getting tossed back to the states. Because they didn't kill Roe v. Wade. Tradcons are too happy about this, and wokesy leftists are too pissed off about this. They're too mad about it. And you know what? The more we hype this up and the more we have this conflict, man, it's going to come to a head. And I'm the teacher. As far as I know, I'm the only teacher that's out here saying this shit. You won't hear this on Tim Pool. You won't hear this on Candace Owens. You sure as shit won't hear this from Matt Walsh. All that stuff that I talked about, and of course, you'd have to wade through 4 hours of it on Fresh and Fit. But I'll tell you right now, here we are, 45 minutes into my show. You keep this up, you're gonna get the war you're looking for. I shouldn't say that. You're gonna get the war that they're looking for, because that's why all this came up, and you know goddamn well why this came up, right?
You're goddamn right.
You know why this is up. You know why they started talking. What Elizabeth Warren started talking about student debt forgiveness as far back as March 24th. Stop playing like you don't know. You do know. This is the plan, and you are controlled opposition, Matt Walsh. This whole thing is you playing your part. That's what this is. And what's going to happen is when we get to some point where some kid spurgs out because he's a tradcon, and some kid spurgs out because he's a wokesy leftist, and they start shooting at each other, they start hurting one another. It's on you, dude. It's not on me. It's not on the guys who are pointing this stuff out. It's not on the left. It's on you. You're the one that's stoking this just as much as the left is. That's what kills me about all of this. You have all this information. You know what's going on. You play the part anyways.
The other end of the spectrum, some pro-abortion women have gone an entirely different route. Rather than bending over and presenting themselves to the public like a dog in heat, these women have promised a sex strike. They're saying that they will, for a period of time, or maybe forever, stop having sex with random men in order to punish those random men for the Supreme Court's decision. It's not clear what these men have done to deserve that punishment, but I'm sure they're grateful for it anyway. In one popular video on TikTok, an abortion fan lays out the plan specifically.
Love this. See, you notice the words he's using here? Are you guys familiar with here, let me pull this out for a second. Are you guys familiar with neuro-linguistic programming? If you know who Ross Jeffries is, you probably do. Wow, it's one of those PUA terms. No, it's not actually. It's a sociological, psychological thing. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. You know who else knows this? And probably Andrew Esquire would be able to talk about this. Attorneys use this all the time. They, instead of saying, well, what happened, Miss Jones, when your car bumped into the back of the other car? That's different than saying, well, what happened, Miss Jones, when your car went careening and slammed head first into the front of this or the back of the car? That's neurolinguistic. The words you choose have an emotional impact. Attorneys know this too. Like, I'm sure Andrew Esquire is probably, Andrew, call me. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. But you'll see that in the Amber Heard trial, right? I mean, you use the right language and people have a different impression because they don't care about facts. They care about impressions and perceptions. And so you use words like, abortion fanatics or abortion hobbyists. Why didn't you use that one? That would have been better, I think. Abortion hobbyists, abortion enthusiasts. Yes, it's like, hey guys, let's go aborting today. Oh, good idea, man. I'm off work. Let's go on abort. Yeah, I love that because he's trying to make clearly he's trying to be funny about the whole thing. And Matt Walsh, if you want some of me, I'm happy to. You know where to find me, dude. In fact, all you guys know where to find me. Okay, good. Okay, I think I caught up with super chats. Don't worry, I'm starring the chats here, so I'm trying to store these things as I go. Is neurolinguistic programming legit or pseudoscience? You tell me, man. I will tell you this is that neurolinguistic programming is a thing, and we're still talking about it. Do the words you use matter? I could very easily, like people come at me all the time, and I'm sorry about this. This is like kind of a brief aside here, But when we use things like people go, Rollo, I just like Rollo so much, but he seems like he's gleeful. I got that from Chris Williamson. Thanks a lot, brother, man. You know, another show I'll never get on because I'm too truthful for the guy. But like my truth sounds like glee, right? It sounds like, oh, it's truthful anger. I'm not angry. You just don't like the information I'm delivering to you. Well, Rollo, if you just would make the tone different, if you would just like stop being so snide and not make a big act out of it and not rely on your improvisational theater to deliver the message. I'm like, yeah, but nobody would watch, first of all. And then second of all, people go like, oh, you are emotional, Rollo, because you like raise your voice when you start talking about Matt Walsh or Tybee, Matt Walsh or Michaela Peterson. You secretly want to bang her, don't you? I knew it. Well, we're gonna get to that here in a little while too. But this is important what he's talking about here in a second. But the thing is like my delivery makes no difference. It's the information you can't handle. I can talk like this and give it to you in a monotone, and I can say, Matt, you're wrong because you are part of the problem, Matt. And I can just be as measured and low key and monotone and bland and blah as I possibly can. And you know what? People go, click, click. That's what would happen. So there's delivery as well. I understand that, but also perception means something. That's why people have a problem with me. You mean like Matt Walsh and his wife sleep in separate beds? You mean like Ricky and Lucy? Ricky, we have to sleep in different beds today. Oh, it's so ridiculous. Lucy is so ridiculous. Yes. Wasn't he Cuban? He was Cuban too. I love Cuban people. I love Cuban food too, by the way. Anyways, you just turned my, I can't, but you just turned my unsub, Rollo. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to start talking like this. We'll see what we can do. Okay. We're going to talk. Here's the video. Let's see what
Hear me out. What if we withhold sex? I'm not kidding. What if we use our most powerful protesting option and withhold sex from penises until this is made right?
Here's a funny thing. He's going to come out. I got to preempt this. I have to preempt this before he comes back in. Having sex with penises. You mean instead of dildos? You mean instead of other chicks? What else? Horses? Come on, let's come on. Give me some other ones, guys. Throw some other ones out there. Having sex with. Finish this sentence. If we don't use penises, what else are we going to use? The reason I'm throwing that out there is because it's funny as hell, because I know what's coming next, right? He's, oh, well, what is a woman? What is a man? What is biological? What is this? Okay, thanks a lot. He's like the new Dr. Phil. It was kind of ironic that he went on Dr. Phil. But anyways, here's anal. Oh man, I didn't say this. You did. I just work here. Oh my God. No. I can't read 90% of these. Oh, you guys, you're killing me.
I love the I'm not kidding part, because the idea of withholding sex, of like not having sex or abstaining, to her, it's so, of not having sex with random people all the time. It's so shocking to her that she has to pause. She said, here's an idea. What if we don't have sex for a while? No, seriously, I'm not kidding. Seriously, guys. Withhold sex from penises, she says, because that's how she views the sexual act, as an exchange between two sets of faceless, nameless body parts.
No, she doesn't. But that's what your moralistic bullshit would like everyone to think. All right. Okay. Now I get that. That's funny. He's supposed to hang on to that side. That's him playing the role. Okay. No, actually, the reason why she's saying that is because she doesn't want to offend, which, by the way, should like fit right into your narrative. But this one went right over your head, Matt. Like, it's fun. Okay, I get what you're trying. I get the grift, man. I get the direction you're going. But the reason why she's saying sex with penises is because she doesn't want to say, oh, well, she doesn't want to go into so much detail that she would say, well, there are some men who don't have penises, and there are some men who do have penises, because gender is just a social construct. I don't know why you didn't follow up on that. I've heard you do it before. About power. When I get ratchet, I start talking like Justin Waller, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's just bullshit. It is. You know what she's talking. You know exactly why she said that. Well, having sex with penises. What she's saying is, well, we can still have, what she's doing is she's leaving herself an out, Matt. She's saying, well, we can still have sex with other women. We can have sex with with dildos. Apparently anal beads is part of that too. Now that goes please give me more super chats because this is not getting monetized. So I need you guys to everybody pitch in, throw me a bone now because this will never get monetized because I said anal beads. And there's the GIF. There's your thing. Anal beads. For Matt Walsh. That's why no one wants to have sex with Matt Walsh. Anyways, but that's the reason why she's doing. She's presuming the point. And it's also, by the way, that's a logical fallacy. Don't know what a logical fallacy is? Oh, I'll be happy to tell you what a logical fallacy is. Because I happen to have those right here. Look at that. She's presuming the point. Okay? She's presuming that everybody knows what she's talking about when she says not having sex with penises. Like biological men, which is interesting to me because if gender is a social construct, then what difference does it make if you're biologically a man or if you're a penis holding person, a penis holding human, bearing human, or you're a non-penis bearing human? Because because it doesn't matter, like gender wise, wouldn't make any difference, right? Come on, man, Matt, I'm doing your work for you here, man. Who are your writers, man? I would be a much better writer for you. I'm like freaking Jon Stewart. I'm Jon Stewart level of writing. You that went right over your head and right over your writers' heads. The reason why she's saying that is because she's presuming that everyone agrees with her that gender is just a social construct. And you've said this before. Hell, you have a whole bloody documentary called What is a Woman that is exactly about this, and you missed that. And I didn't. I'm just some schmuck on the radio here, on the podcasting here. Come on, Matt. Pick it up. Pick up the slack, my friend.
The New York Post talked to some protesters at a demonstration in New York City about their sex strike plans, and they all hit on similar themes. Reading now, it says, Big Apple abortion protesters were in support of a sex strike Saturday as abstinence started trending on Twitter in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Let's cut the shit. Abstinence is not trending on Twitter. She just said it. Let's stop having sex with penises. She didn't say that. Let's all just stop having sex. No, it's just the men that everyone hates. It's not like the black man, the white man, the Asian man. It's just the man. Everyone hates a man. Everybody hates a man. That's why. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. It's all, everybody hates a man. I mean, a black man, or a white man, Asian man, Latino man, Latinx man. No, it's just men. Penis-bearing human beings, right? What if you are a penis-bearing? I want to know this. Maybe this was you want some comedy gold? Here you go, man. Wonder if there are penis-bearing women who they will have sex with. What if I What if I pulled a Zuby? Sorry, Zuby, I don't mean to throw you under the bus here. What if I pulled a Zuby and I said, you know what? I realize I'm a penis-bearing human being, but today I identify as a woman. So you can have sex with me, ladies. In fact, you should probably have sex with me right now because you're on a sex strike from men, from biologically male men, because apparently they're the enemy right now, and you're going on a sex strike. But I identify as a woman today, and I think I'm going to go do the deadlift championship of the world, and then tomorrow I might feel like a man again, and I'll just like change my gender back. Guys, you want to know what you want? This is a gift. This is a gift, gentlemen. All you've got to do is say, well, you know what? I realize I'm a penis-bearing human being, but I kind of feel I have some solidarity for my sisters, and I'm really feeling more feminine today. Like, hey, you know what? I know you guys are in kind of like a dry spell because you don't want to have sex with penis-bearing humans. So, but don't worry about it. I'm not a man. I'm actually a woman with a penis. So, like, I will have sex with you, just to jump on the grenade for the team, right? To take one for the team kind of thing. And then you can turn yourself back into a man like right afterwards, because it's all about how you feel that particular time. Now, why are your writers not picking up on shit like this? I am, and you're not, and they're not.
Quote, if you're a man who won't get a vasectomy, even though it's reversible, and you're not out in the streets fighting for my rights, you don't deserve to have sex with me, Brianna.
Okay. Whenever we're talking about feminists, whenever we're talking about gentlemen, we've already talked about sneaky fucker game here. It's the cuttlefish. CUTTLE, not cuttlefish. Stop it with the cuttlefish crowd. I think you guys do this on purpose. Cuttlefish game. Cuttlefish. If I say it fast, it sounds like cuttlefish. Sneaky fucker game. Okay. You're not tricking anybody. But women like this do not see you as a man. Clearly, you're a penis-bearing human being, right? No, they see you as an ally. If you're not out in the streets fighting for my rights, what right do you think you lost? Then I don't want to have sex with you.
Anna Campbell, a 24-year-old EMT, told the Post. Caroline Healy, a 22-year-old event coordinator, also questioned why sex was more important than women's rights. Quote, I think it's...
Did you catch that? 22-year-old event coordinator. What events does she coordinate at 22?
absolutely valid for us to be withholding the holy grail that men seem to think is important, she told the Post. Quote, women of America, take the pledge. Because SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade, we cannot take the risk of an unintended pregnancy. Therefore, we will not have sex with any men, including our husbands, unless we are trying to become pregnant, one Twitter user wrote.
Including our husbands.
I live in New York.
Okay, so sorry to preempt you here, Matt. Well, anybody telling you that you shouldn't read is foolish. They want you weak and stupid, okay? Just saying. I've heard that lately. And one of the things you should have read by now, I always say, well, you know what? We need homeschooling. And what do I need to go to college for, Rollo? I can learn anything I want to online. Well, here we are. Class is in session today. And let's see. Here we go.
Hello there, children. How's it going?
Okay, so I'm going to teach you something today, children. And we're going to talk about a play, an ancient Greek play, and it's called Lysistrata. Go look it up. Lysistrata, I believe is how it's spelled. Lysistrata. And essentially it's what's going on right now. Sex strike. And you know what's funny is like anytime something like this comes up, that's the first thing out of women's mouth. Well, the first thing is they take my clothes, right? Look at me, I'm God. I'll cross my boobs, right? Then it's, well, you know what? As she was saying, and just a minute ago, I thought this was the reason why I let that clip go here is because it's the Holy Grail. My vagina is the Holy Grail. My vagina is the prize to be had. It is the golden calf of the gender religion of the goddess movement. The golden calf of the goddess movement is my big giant golden vagina. Remember they talked about, I did a whole video on this. Remember Shan Booty when she was talking about the golden penis syndrome? This clearly is a woman who has golden vagina syndrome, right? All men, we don't put women on a pedestal. We put pussy on a pedestal. Pussy on a pedestal. It's the name of your next album, Giovanni. Make a note of that. Pussy on a pedestal, right? It's not enough that you make your wife the most important thing in the world, or your girlfriend or your pussy the most important thing in the world. You must make womankind the Holy Grail. And if you're not out there fighting for my rights, if you're not out there screaming in the streets, if you're not writing protest songs and bad poetry for me and my golden vagina, then you're not an ally, my friend. You're a cuttlefish. You've been discovered as an imposter. It's like what's that video game? One of us. You're not one of us. Among us. You're not among us. That's what I feel like we're playing. It's like you're the imposter. Ha! Found you out. And you rat out your friends as the imposter, and then you flush them out the airlock of the gender landscape, I guess. But that's really where we're at right now. And we're in the middle of Lysistrata. And so I'll give you just the briefest plot summary of Lysistrata. It's the women, I want to say ancient Greece, it was Hellenic Greece, and actually has a little bit of historical accuracy to it as well. Essentially, I mean, long story short, there was wars, I believe it was between Athens and was it Troy? It might have been. And so the women basically do exactly what they're saying here. They hold out on their husbands, on the men. They swear an oath. The sisterhood swears an oath. No legs shall spread for any man until you quarreling men can get over your differences. And it's funny because it's kind of bawdy, and it's one of those. It's kind of one of those rare Greek plays. I guess it would be a play, yeah. In an amphitheater, right? It's one of those rare Greek plays where it's a body kind of like everything's like a sexual innuendo. It's kind of like when I did the let's see, do you have a large tool episode where it's like everything that comes out of your mouth is just nothing but innuendos and Freudian slips, right? That's what it's built around. But the premise is the same. And the reason I bring up Lysistrata is because that's how old this premise is. Right. It's at least as old as that play way back in ancient Greece. So This is nothing new. And so remember, this is how women think when it comes to guys. Oh, it's the holy grail. They'll do anything for pussy. You want to know why? I told, by the way, you're going to see this in the Leah Halpern episode. She already asked about this too. Women's only real agency in this world is their sexuality. Okay. I don't know how many times I have said this on this show and other shows. The only real agency women have is their sexuality. And once and it's perishable. And once it's gone and ain't nobody want that no more, then their power and their agency declines as their sexuality declines. Don't believe me? This is exactly why women are crying in the streets and raising holy hell. And what do? What's the first thing they do, gentlemen? They always get naked. Hashtag they always get naked. That's why they know on some level, some lizard brain synaptic thing at the very brain stem understands if I get naked, people will pay attention to me because sexuality is a woman's only real agency. It's the only, and by agency, I mean power. I mean, by the way, when I use the term agency, I mean like power, like control, whatever you like. They're only be able to manipulate and control, as we've already served. Like she said this. And I'm not saying she's speaking for all women, but she's speaking for all women. Okay. Well, not all women are like that. No, that's the sisterhood uber alles. I don't care what your religion is, your political stripe is, or your ethnicity is, or what country you come from. If you're on team woman, if you have female body parts, you're part of the sisterhood. Simple as that. And they know this. And even Trandcon women know this too. Okay. If they want to get something done, what do? They hold out on their men. And that's where I want to go with. So I'm gonna let him finish up real quick because I got another point to make here in just a second. So let me throw him up here again.
Quote, and I am double furious with the Supreme Court. I want to find people who are coordinating a mass sex strike. That is our power, one woman raged. Quote, women have the power here. No more sex until abortion rights are federal law.
Does that sound to you like women realize and understand that sexuality and the holy pussy, the holy grail, does that sound to you like women's only real agency is their sexuality? Here it is, confirmed for you, black and white. Whenever somebody comes at me and they come at my book or they come at whatever I'm saying, right? Rollo he's not a professional. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Where are cite the sources, gentlemen? Here's your fucking source right here. Matt, thank you for making my point for me. And he doesn't know what he's doing, right? He doesn't know he's making my point. But the point is this, is like when people come at me and they go, well, how does Rollo dares to say that we live in a gynocentric social order? Yes, yeah, you're fucking goddamn right.
Goddamn right.
You're goddamn right, I do. And I don't need sources to cite for this. I've got a billion of them out in the street right now screaming holy hell that their pussy is the magic hoo-hoo. That's why. Well, how dare Rollo presume that women's only agency is their sexuality. Meanwhile, they're stripping naked at some protest, an Antifa protest in Portland, Oregon. That you want gynocentric social order? There it is. How much more confirmation do you need? How much more? Do you want me to tell you who runs the IMF and the European Central Bank and the World Bank and who controls the purse strings of 16 of the largest industrialized nations in the United States? Learned that this weekend. Who? Is it men? Is it a man's world, or we live in a patriarchy? No, we don't. That's all of those are controlled by women. U.S. Treasury, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, controlled by women. Purse strings. Look at the women that are in the Biden administration right now. Are there any men? I have yet to see a man step forward and be a representative for the Biden administration. Seriously, look at the press secretaries. Look at the vice presidents. Look at who does the speaking for him. Nancy Pelosi, 82 years old, been in Congress since 1989. She has wielded more political power in the United States than 6 presidents she's served under. And I mean influence, like she wasn't president, obviously, but she has certainly wielded more political influence than 6 sitting U.S. presidents throughout there. And in some cases, well, they were doing it for 8 years at a clip. Okay. So tell me again how we don't live in a gynocentric social order, and I will give you another example. And you tell me again, and I will give you another example. And you tell me 3 or 4 or 10 times, I will give you 20 different examples. I don't need a study. I don't need research. I don't need a freaking peer-reviewed, meta-analysis. I can show it to you black and white every day. That's what I mean. So you're going to come at me, you better come correct. And you know what I'm talking about. And people know who I'm talking about right now, too. And if you don't, I'll be happy to tell you offline. However, here we have a sex strike. And I have my notes here, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about this as well, is that if I use sex as a man, if I use sex to manipulate women, if I use game to manipulate women, you know who's going to call me a rapist? Jordan Peterson is going to call me a rapist. You know who else is going to call me a rapist? Is that, I forget the brother's name, the black guy that I what the hell was his name? I did the TikTok. It was it was last video, as a matter of fact. And the guy was talking about how you guys learn how to take what you want from women, and then you crush them, and you use them, and you have sex with them, and you move on to the next. You don't leave them better than you found them, right? And he moves on and on and on. He just wants to make this. It's what I call the little big head, right? It's like, these women don't deserve to be completely destroyed by you manipulative sons of bitches. You're all players. And now when women get to be, 29 to 31, and they finally get with a nice beta guy who really wants to take care of them and really untangle their head games or their head space, right? It's all because of you horrible, horrible men. Well, if that's the case, if you're going to say that if I, as a player or whatever, guys who understand game, guys who have money, muscles, and game, and the game part being the key element here, if I use sex to manipulate women, I am guilty of sexual assault. At the very least. I mean, in the nicest way, I'm guilty of sexual assault because I tricked her, coerced her into having sex she didn't want to have. But really, that meets the definition of rape, right? It's sex that women have that they don't really give consent to, or they didn't really necessarily want to have. And I got into this way back in, I think, in 2018 with Pat Campbell, God rest his immortal soul. Wait. And we talked about duty sex, D-U-T-Y, not duty sex. Stop it, animals. And I brought that up, and man, I used to talk about dutiful sex, back in as far back as 2008 or 2009. That's like a Christian evangelical term, by the way. It's not, I didn't make that up. I thought that's what everybody called it. Right. I brought that up in 2018 on Pat Campbell's terrestrial radio show. And oh my God, it was like, I was run up the flagpole. I didn't, more than that, they wanted to burn me at the stake for even bringing that up, because it was at a time, I think it was just like post UVA rape hoax from, was it, it'd have been 4 years after that, actually, I think, 5 years, maybe it's 2 years. But the whole thing that was going down with the UVA fraternity rape hoax that was written about in Rolling Stone, right? And so that we'd gone from yes means yes, or excuse me, no means no to yes means yes, and then it was enthusiastic consent. And I told Pat back in the day, I said, you know what, this enthusiastic consent is what really throws me off the most, because like I was analyzing the Aziz Ansari case. I brought him up, by the way. I brought his name up when I was analyzing the Flagrant 2 video. Gosh, I guess it was last year. Was it last year or earlier this year? And it's because the guys on Flagrant, what was his name? The Indian guy, I can't remember his name now. He was saying something like, "Oh, you guys at Fresh and Fit, and you players, you coerce women into having the sex that they don't really want to have, and that's horrible, right? I would never do such a thing. How dare you do something such as that? How dare you do that?" Like they're faking, they're allies, right? And I'm like, well, if that's the case, if you're going to come at me and you're going to come at Myron and Fresh and you're going to come at anybody who's in the red pill sphere, and you're going to say, you guys are fiendish players who use mind games and tactics and psychological trickery and leveraging and everything else to trick women into giving consent that they don't necessarily want to give, and it ruins them and it hurts their feelings and everything else. If you're going to tell me that is sexual assault, or that's just like in any other definition, it could be like, let's just say forced copulation, like you tricked her into having sex with you, then would that not necessarily mean that if a woman decides to use sex as a weapon, if she says, you know what, no one's going to have sex with anybody until we make sure that until we can abort our children, until we get the right, which you've never had anyways, but until we get the right to abort our kids, then we're not going to have sex with you. Now, he makes a big joke out of it, and of course, everybody does. Oh, well, I don't want to fuck Trigglypuff anyways. Ho, ho, ho. Okay, great. But you know what? Here's the bigger story behind this is that's technically sexual assault. if we're all equal, if men and women are just the same, and gender is just where we just have a penis bearing human, right? And gender is something completely different than that. If sexual manipulation is a form of sexual assault, then how is this not sexual assault? How is that not equatable with rape? How? Explain that to me, Batman.
Another said, quote, perhaps a sex strike, also known as abstinence, would help the men folk to be all in on the women's rights issue.
Herp.
Well, I am a man folk, and I can say that your decision to abstain from sex in response to overturning Roe definitely does not make me lament the overturning of Roe. It is rather a significant bonus. This is like getting upgraded to first class and then finding a $100 bill under your seat. Okay, this is again upside upon upside, win upon win, and we're not done winning yet. Because back on TikTok, the pro-abortion luminaries of that app have been even more explicit about their ultimate intentions. Reading from an article on Insider, published a few weeks before the Roe decision was officially announced, it says, quote, some women say they will deny casual sex if they do not have abortion rights after news broke that the Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. Quote, in case you're a man who doesn't care about Roe v. Wade, just know that if abortion gets banned, hookup culture will be absolutely decimated.
Oh, well.
According to one TikTok user, which has received more than 1.2 million views in a single day, quote, what woman would have mediocre sex with a drunk rando if he could potentially father their child? She can.
Is that not like how it is all the time? A hot guy in the foam cannon party? Certainly since the early 90s, right? I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. I don't know. It just led to a random, some drunk rando, right? Come on, Matt.
Continued, noting that the video is directed at all the pro-life men who love Plan B. The clip drew more than 263,000 likes and more than 3,100 comments with many.
Do you notice how women have this choice, right? That's the whole thing, right? Pro-choice, pro-life, whatever. You have I want to have the right to choose to do what with my body, what I want to do. Okay. We'll touch on how what the comparison is, apples and oranges here with that in a second. But the choice is always, okay, well, first of all, your choice and your right, ladies, has not been taken away from you. It has only been kicked back to the states. That's it. You still have, and until the states, until your local representatives, until your governors, until your congressperson, which are state congressperson and your state senators and your state governors decide one way or another. And I'm sure there's probably some states like maybe Oklahoma or some of these southern states who are already poised to do this, right? But that's why you're talking about this right now. Even Biden said this in his speech. It was like, oh, Roe v. Wade is on the ballot this year. Yeah, imagine surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, you've only been talking about that. You've only been trying to agitate the women, ladies. They've only been trying to agitate you since the 24th when they said, oh, we're going to give you student debt forgiveness. And they specifically drew attention to the fact that 2/3 of women, in any other pretense, no one would say this, but they specifically drew attention to the fact that 2/3 of student debt was held by women. You know why? Because at least 60%, and depending on the major, more than 60% of college enrollment is accounted by women. Men, on the other hand, happen to be anywhere from 40 to 35%. Depends on what the major is, and if you're going for your master's or your doctorate or whatever else. But just on average, 60-40. Okay, almost tracks with 2/3. Kind of does if you look at masters and doctorates, right? But it kind of tracks with that across the nation. And of course, it depends on actually the majors, and it depends on the actual college itself. But on average, it's 60-40. It might have bumped up since then. I'm not sure. But that tracks quite well with the fact that women hold 2/3 of the American student debt load right now, which is $1.7 trillion. And by the way, ladies, in case you were wondering, in case you were hopeful that it was going to get flipped, it will never happen. George Gammon told me this, and I had to think about that. He actually gave me something to think about, because I was on Fresh and Fit and we were talking about the student debt load and how it was going to be forgiven. And I think this was last month. And he was like, it will never get forgiven. I'm like, why is that? And I thought maybe it was because, they don't want to add another $1.7 trillion to the deficit. He's like, no, it's their biggest asset. That debt is the United States' biggest asset, $1.7 trillion, because they can borrow against that, the equity of that, because they say, you know what, ladies, you're paying for all. I don't care if you took it a loan out for underwater basket weaving or women's studies or what, women in literature, whatever your gender studies crap is, you're paying for that. Try to make it work in the real world. I don't care, but you guys are paying for that. And the reason why you're going to pay for it, and it's not me, it's not these horrible misogynist patriarchal sons of bitches who are telling you pay your damn, be accountable for the decisions you make. It's because the U.S. government can't afford it. They need to borrow against the equity of that $1.7 trillion so they can increase the inflation that much more. It's actually a battery for the United States. They want that debt. They want you to keep that. They will never forgive that. You will never be forgiven your student debt. Even if they go, oh, we're going to give you a stimulus check so to go against your, to put towards your student debt load. $5,000 towards a student debt load of $400,000 or something like, or I don't even know what $100,000. Just spitting in the ocean to make it bigger. That's what it comes down to. You will never be forgiven of that. However, we go from that in March to, oh my God, they leaked the SCOTUS draft opinion that they might flip Roe v. Wade. Here we are 1 month later, actually maybe 2 months later, just about 2 months later, and oh my God, they kicked it back to the states. They didn't overturn Roe v. Wade. And anytime you see this tweeted out, you hold these people's feet to the fire. They did not overturn Roe v. Wade. They gave it back to the states. They gave it back to the people. That is the exact language of the decision. We give it back to the people, meaning it goes back to the states. That's what it means. I lost my right to abortion. You didn't have a right to begin with. There is nothing. In fact, it says again in the opinion, in the actual statement, there's nothing in the Constitution that guarantees a right to abortion. It guarantees the right to privacy. Roe v. Wade most definitely does. And it was on the federal side that was upheld because it was a privacy issue, not because it was like, oh, we're going to give the little ladies an abortion. It was just in the wake of that. That's when we had Planned Parenthood, and that's when we had safe and it was safe, legal, and rare, and now it's safe, legal, and celebrated. That's what it is. It's now no longer rare anymore. I've made that, and if you guys want to see the stats for that, I did a full show on that with Myron and Fresh actually last week. So we can look at the stats. 32% of women who make more than $47,000 a year abort, what is it, 30%, 32% of their children, I think is what it is. Women, that's what it was. Women above the age of, who make more than $47,000 per year abort 32% of their children. That's what it comes down to. So the more affluent you are, the more college educated you are by taking out those loans so that you could get more than $47,000 a year, ladies, that puts you into a higher proclivity to abort your children. At least statistically speaking, anyways. I'm not saying, again, correlation is not causation, but there is a correlation. I love that. Well, causation, correlation is not causation. Yeah, but there is a correlation. So how about we look at that? Huh? Let's look at this.
Users agreeing with her assessment. Quote, OMG, I'm entering my celibacy era. A user commented below, to which the video creator replied that she had the same thought the second the news came out. Quote,
instead of a hoe phase, you now have a celibacy era.
We all need to collectively agree to never touch another man again if it gets overturned.
Wouldn't you have to define what a man is? Oh, we haven't got to that documentary yet.
Another user declared that they were deleting all dating apps as we speak. And in another video, which received 12,000 views, fitness influencer Nikki Cox said that the debate surrounding Roe v. Wade isn't just for women. Quote, since about 75% of men only care about sex and money, I hope they know this Roe v. Wade decision could destroy hookup culture and leave them paying 18 years of child support. She wrote.
Okay. Once again, he's gonna harp on hookup culture here in just a second. We've already shown. You want me to show you this? Here we go. There is no hookup culture. Lack of sex. Why no one wants to have sex with Matt Walsh, with him. He's not actually him, but with him, right? This is it. Lack of sex is driven by the young. You mean the people who are deleting hookup apps? Who's not? I'll tell you who's not. It's let's see. It's male. It's women. Women aren't. Men are. Women don't need men. They want men. Who do they want? Well, certainly not these guys. And certainly not these guys. Oh, wait a minute. Remember what I said about correlation not being causation? Oh my goodness. What is this, Rollo? American men's share of college enrollment, share of 18 to 30-year-olds reporting sex in the past year. Look at that. My goodness. 40.4% versus the 60% of women who are enrolled, right? But then look at this. Oh my God. Oh my stars and garters. Right around 2018 is where 28%. I would guarantee it's probably about 30% right now. Here we are. Remember, that data's like 4 years old, man. Look at that. Oh my goodness. 2021. You notice they don't give you the data set for like virginity, because I think it was because it's the GSS studies done. Like, is it 4 years or 5 years? I don't know what the GSS study annuum is, but so Matt, can we talk? Matt? Here it is, Matt. There ain't no fucking hookup culture, okay? And if there is, it's driven by women. Yes, women. The same girls that you showed twerking at the beginning of your video, those chicks right there, my friend.
Now, one thing you'll notice is that over the past few days, the pretense has been completely dropped. Abortion advocates are no longer pretending that abortion is anything but a form of birth control. Of course, prior to the overturning of Roe, they bristled at the suggestion that anyone would ever use abortion as birth control.
Okay, so we're here. Okay, this is always. I've heard this argument since the mid to late 80s. Women shouldn't use abortion as birth control, and people used to lose their shit about this. Oh my God, we would never do such a thing. Now we have the morning after pill, but like back then they're like, oh, it's not. They swore up and down. This is in the days prior to hypergamy being quote unquote open hypergamy. Right? It was kept a secret. Like women's mating strategy, we can't have the guys figure this out, right? So if you said, oh, well, we use abortion as a form, like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to go on the pill. I'll just get it aborted if I get like, it's like this blasé attitude, right? But the fact of the matter is abortion is what, children? Abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. It is a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. It's not that she got pregnant. It's that she got pregnant with you. It's that she got pregnant with this guy. Do you think, okay, here we go. We're going to get real here. Do you think that Brittany Renner would have aborted PJ Washington's kid? You could put a 1 in the chat if you think that would happen. I don't think that would have ever happened. In fact, she planned it. It's in her book. It's stepdaddy season, right? This is... Hey, y'all. This chick. It's stepdaddy season. Do you think that she would have aborted? Oh, you know what? Oh gosh, I can't bring another life into this world. I'm 29 and I just got pregnant by one of the top players in the NBA. Let me think about that. Oh, well, it's not about the $200,000 a month I would get in child support. It's really about the human life. Do you think that that's part of the consideration that would have happened with good old Brittany? Hey y'all, who is bipolar, allegedly. Do you think that even entered into the thought process at that point? Now, if Brittany had gotten pregnant by a hot guy in the foam cannon party who happened to be a sandwich artist, maybe she would have gotten flush the kid. It's not PJ Washington's kid. Okay, well, let's see if I can lock this guy down. Let's see if I can get this dude, right? Didn't they have it was on Top Micah's, he was talking, well, this was way back in the day, 2001, 2002, they were talking about the NBA, put out like a notice. And this is this is the other half of the Tabasco story where you put Tabasco in the condom. The first part of that is that the NBA put out a warning to all the players who won road games because there were women that they were sleeping with on those road games who were self-inseminating out of the condom. And that's ergo put the Tabasco in the thing. That's what had done that. But you know what? They're not trying to self-inseminate the guy who's a barista. They're doing it with NBA players. All right. So that ought to tell you something right there. There's a motive. There's an incentive for that. It is that PJ Washington was not a bad reproductive choice for Brittany Renner. That was not a bad reproductive choice. But if she chose, at least the fail-safe was there. maybe she doesn't want to get with him. Maybe it was a I don't know, a minor league NBA player instead of PJ Washington. The baby's yours. That could happen too, right? You want to know why there's no DNA test? That's why there's no DNA test. So let me put you back in, Matt.
Now, amid their hysteria, they've forgotten about that talking point altogether. That's for the best, because abortion, in the lion's share of cases, has been used as a means to divorce sex from its natural consequences, otherwise known as birth control.
Okay. What he's about to talk about is proximate cause versus ultimate cause. I'll come back to that idea.
Has been the left's primary undertaking, its animating principle, its great commission. I think quite possibly this is, more than anything else, the core of leftism itself, and that is the desire to reduce sex down to its mere physical sensations. They want to remove everything from the sexual act except the physical pleasure. Everything else goes away. Take away love.
Oh, wait, no.
Take away joy, devotion, fidelity.
Come on, bring it.
They want intimacy without intimacy. Take away commitment, familiarity, emotional fulfillment. And most of all, or at least first of all, they seek to strip from sex its life-giving capacities.
Oh, so if that's the case, and that is the exclusive purview of the left and the wokesies and the Lena Dunhams of the world with, hairy armpits and purple fuchsia hair, whatever. If that's the case, then why is it that 68% of Christian men admit to being addicted to pornography? Is that not divorcing? Are they not divorcing themselves from the feelings? Perhaps it's not about that. It's not left versus right, Matt. It's about, I want to get my rocks off versus, what is it? Dopamine versus, what is it? Serotonin or whatever the hell it is, like we're going to make a big deal out of it. He's advocating for no fap here. But the thing is like Christian men want to, dude, a long time ago, I think it was the early 80s. There was a great song. It was written by a illustrious songwriter, one of the best songwriters of time. And that guy's name was David Lee Roth. He wrote this fantastic song. You know what it was called? It was called Everybody Wants Some. And you know what? He was wise beyond his years, my friend. It was a different time. People are talking about like Alien Ant Farm and how great their quality of life was back then. I just saw that trending on Twitter not too long ago. And I'm like, I don't reminisce about that time. I reminisce about when Slayer did Rain in Blood. But no, like you go back to the early Van Halen days, Fair Warning and Women and Children First, and Everybody Wants Some. You know what? There is a karmic wisdom in that. Everybody wants some, get some. That's what it's about. I don't care if you're Trandcon. I don't care if you're woke left. Everybody wants to get off. Everybody does. Was it Chris Rock once said, everybody wants to get high? And if you take away all the drugs, it won't matter. People will become scientists trying to figure out how they can get high. Same thing for sex. In fact, I would argue there is a reason, Matt, why pornography is free, streaming, 4K. You can get a 10-year-old boy can get it right there on his smartphone, on his iPhone 13 anytime he wants to. There's a reason for that. Well, that's because it's degenerate and they have it all. It's all access. Yeah, you know what? There wouldn't be a supply if there wasn't a demand, my friend. There would not. That wouldn't happen. Unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And the other thing he'll never address in this is the fact that men, that's our mating strat. That's our primary, unencumbered mating strategy, for lack of a better term. It's our evolutionary imperative, but the fact still remains that 68% of good upstanding Christian men admit to being addicted to pornography. So maybe instead of taking away while we're taking away abortion, maybe we should take away pornography at the same time. Maybe that would be a good idea, right? I'm sure he'd probably agree with that. The problem is once you do that, you remove a sedation that is actually a stabilizing element in today's society. Take that away, and people don't go, well, maybe we should all go back to 1950s and talk about things, and maybe we'll all want to have kids together. And we don't go back because we do that. In fact, we collapse the system as a result of that because we've come too far. That would be my argument.
The problem they always run into, though, is that it's not actually possible to permanently remove all of those things from sex.
Sure it is. And 68% of your boys do exactly that. Exactly that. For men, by the way, I brought this up, like, for women, because here's the thing. When Matt is talking about this right now, he's looking at this from a very feminized perspective. As I said, he is like a controlled opposition. He's the one who's playing this role. And that role is that he is still part of the sisterhood uber alles. Is that a bold statement? I'll tell you why. Because everything that's come out of his mouth has been feminine primary. What about guys? What about guys' wants? What about our needs? When the fuck do we get to go and say, hey, you know what? Women, we're in 2020 and you got to be responsible for your own shit. You got to be accountable for your own shit. You want choice? And I don't mean reproductive choice. You want choice to be a doctor, an astronaut, or whatever the fuck you want to be, an OnlyFans girl. Guess what? There's consequences that come with that. And until guys like this are willing to hold women accountable, we go nowhere. We certainly don't jump in a freaking DeLorean, drive 88 miles an hour and go back in time to a golden era. That doesn't happen. No, you will not hold women accountable. He wouldn't do it in the beginning of this show, this video, and he certainly won't do it here at the end, because everything is female specific. Even the guys that you think are red pill, like Jordan Peterson and God knows this dude here and Matt and everybody else, you want to think because they're on, the red side of the spectrum, or you want to think that they're on that side, that they're still part of the sisterhood uber alles. They still are on team woman. That's what he's about to say. Pretty much as much right now.
And if ever they do encounter somebody, usually a man, who's actually achieved the goal of engaging the sexual act without any emotions or any sense of responsibility or any commitment at all wrapped up.
You catch that? Usually a man. You want me to back that up a touch? Let's just kiss that back a little bit here.
Responsibility or any commitment at all wrapped up into it. They'll hate that man and organize a Me Too mob to come after him.
Okay, hold on. Here, let me push it back. Here we go.
Into, though, is that it's not actually possible to permanently remove all of those things from sex.
Okay, it is, but let's keep going.
And if ever they do encounter somebody, usually a man.
Catch that? I did. This is what happens. See, gentlemen, this is why the red pill, sure as shit doesn't come off of my head. I'm sensitive. You want to talk about, when guys say like, Rollo, how do you stay on top of everything? How do I can't keep up the act. I keep telling you, I am the game. This is part of I am the game. It's not just your interpersonal relationships. It's understanding other guys as well. You catch that? Usually a man.
Who's actually achieved the goal of engaging the sexual act without any emotions or any sense of responsibility or any commitment at all wrapped up into it.
Okay. So what he just described is the playa. Okay. I'm going to come back to Matt here in just a second, but before I do, I want to throw this in here because this is vitally important for you guys to see this at this time. Okay. I don't fuck around. Here we go.
You lie to a girl and she sleeps with you.
Sure.
Why aren't you a rapist?
Right? Why aren't you
actually what you wanted?
Is this not what Hafiz has been talking about lately? Is this not what that brother was talking about a couple of episodes ago? Is that not what he's talking about? Is that not what Matt is talking about right here? He just described this dude.
Right, because it's false pretenses.
Like if you could get away with rape.
Yeah, well, so then all of a sudden you don't have, well, maybe what you want in your soul of souls is, the sexual encounter you'd have in paradise. You want love, you want companionship, you want a maternal embrace, you want eroticism, you want deep personal contact, you want eye-to-eye communication. That's all part of this fantasy,
Bullshit. If that were part of the fantasy, if that were a fantasy, Jordan, if that were a fucking fantasy, you would think that it would trend much higher on Pornhub, don't you think? It would trend much higher than midget porn. It would trend much higher than interracial, cuckoldry porn. But that's not what people search for. I don't have the stats here. Go to Pornhub, and not Pornhub itself, but the Pornhub blog. There's no porn on Pornhub's blog, okay? That's safe for work. But there are stats on there. And you know what one of those stats isn't? It's this. Oh, I want to look at this wonderful, in fact, what's funny is if that exists, it's niche porn. I want to have a woman and a wife who loves me, and we're gonna have this loving, wonderful porn sex, but it's all in the context and the pretext and the pretense of a relationship. But if you don't, you're a rapist. That's what he's saying. Exactly what he's saying here.
Then you deceive. to get it. And then you get it. Well, no, you don't, because you're a deceitful rapist. And so what do you get? Well, you get the corruption of your soul and the contamination of the thing that you want and need most desperately, and that the entire human endeavor depends upon.
And yet we still don't want to hold women accountable, because remember, here's the fucking kicker in all of this, right? When women protest, or when men say anything about abortion, you know what's the first response? It's not get a vasectomy. It takes two people. Men are, in fact, I've seen protest signs about this already. Men are 100% responsible for every pregnancy, not 50%, 100%. Got it? If that's the case, then all these guys are rapists. They got what they wanted, and she has to flush the kid, and she has to make a decision. She has to choose because you forced her into that choosing. How come we can't separate the sex act from the emotional investment? You know why? Because we're men. Men don't have to worry about stuff. Well, we do, but we don't have to worry about that stuff like women do. Women lead with emotion. There's a higher reproductive investment cost for women than there is for men. That's why men can jerk off to porn, walk down the block and go get a big gulp at 7-Eleven and not think anything of it. That's why. The guys who are like, no fap, they just die from the inside from this agonizing guilt. You know why? Because they've been taught and conditioned by a gynocentric social order, by a blue pill that has taught them that there should be shame in them jerking themselves off. And you know what? They're going to keep coming back to it, because David Lee Roth said it best. Everybody wants some, and they will keep coming back to it. But we're going to hold men responsible for their sexual expression, for their want to actually get laid. And we already know that less and less of those guys are actually even getting laid. Don't believe me? Here we go. You want more stats? Here's your stats. Bing, bing, bing. Bam, bam, bam. There it is. What do you got to say about that, Jordan? What do you got to say about that, Matt? What do you got to say about any of this, about the stats? Because I got the stats to back it up. All you got is moralistic panic. All you got is old man angst is what you have, and including Matt, by the way. That's where this comes from. It comes from this emotionalist moralism. And I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just pointing out where it's coming from. Jordan has no business being in the giving anyone advice about how to find a good mate, how to have a good relationship. Okay. I got time on the clock too. I've been married for coming up on 26 years. Everybody wants to give me grief about you're married, so who would talk to you? Well, apparently, if you're married to your wife as long as Jordan is, it doesn't matter what the background is. It just matters whether or not your cult is big enough to like fanboy for you long enough for you to get out of the hustle. That's really what it comes back to. How do I know that? Well, because of this video right here. Let's talk about this one now. Oh, let's go here. Actually, you know what? Well, no, I got to start with Jordan. Hang on. I'm not going to run Hafiz up the flagpole just yet.
I find the right person when I'm dating. How do I find the person who's right for me when I'm dating? I got the question like 3 times in a row, and I thought, because I always think this, what about that question? What's wrong with that question? There's something wrong with that question. How do I conduct myself so that I am the best possible partner? Now that's a whole different, right? That's a whole different conceptual universe. And first,
gotta love the piano going in the background here.
Say, well, if you want an answer to the first question, which is how do I find the person who's right for me, you actually start by asking the second question, which is what can I bring to the table for someone else? And if you're really good at bringing something to the table for someone else, hey man, people might be lining up to be your partner. And if they're not, then you might think, well, maybe I'm just not bringing the right thing to the table. And that's worth thinking, especially if you're desperate, you're lost, and you're alone. It's like, maybe I got this wrong.
But if you go after a chick, it's a waste of your time. If you go after a woman, if you're pursuing her, there's something you run the risk of being a rapist. So what is it, Jordan? Should we all be like looking for that one special person out there and trying to be the best we can be? Is that not like focusing on the idea of another person rather than focusing on your chase excellence, my young friends? Don't chase women, chase excellence. Oh, good. Now we can move on to this video right here.
men are actively going out and trying to solicit sex with women, they don't realize you're wasting your time that could be invested in your purpose. You're wasting so much time that could be invested in becoming financially stable, becoming physically fit, becoming spiritually grounded and emotionally healthy. This is one of the biggest wastes of time that so many men are engaged in, and no one is talking about this.
So it's a waste of time for you to learn game. It's a waste of time for you to engage with women. It's a waste of time, right? So when you get to be, how old is he now? What, 31, 33? Yeah. And just now getting married and just now trying to figure shit out for himself. Yeah.
Nobody is talking about this. And all the guys think, oh, so-and-so is the man because look at all the girls he gets and he has hundreds of girls. He smashed 100 of girls.
Sound like he's pissed off at Andrew Tate. Hustler, how many people in the chat right now belong to Hustler University? Huh? How many? And I'm not shitting on Tate, but I mean, how many? Like, that's, you want to know where this panic comes from? That's where this comes from.
No man of value sees guys like that as the man. We see guys.
Man of value, another container word. Can we explain what value is? Can we? Because I doubt he could.
Like that is, Joe, you're wasting your time. You are highly inefficient.
No, you're not highly inefficient, Hafiz. You might be a rapist. You might, because you want to go and get what you want from women. You might be fucking them up for guys like you, right? Hafiz, how many men has your wife been with, right? I get that all the time. People throw that at me all the time. Rollo, how many men has your wife been with? Ha, you weren't the first, so therefore you must be a cuck, right? That they love to throw that one out there, like as if that's gonna make any difference, especially this. It didn't make any difference back in the 80s. It sure as shit doesn't make any difference back right now in 2020. But it's unfalsifiable. It's an unfalsifiable hack is what it is. And again, it's a little big head. Well, I wouldn't want to be like that Andrew Tate guy who just thinks with his little head all the time. I want to think with my big head. Therefore, I know that I'm not getting laid, but it doesn't matter because I'm focusing on my purpose. What is that? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm one of the lost boys. But when I do, I know I'll be ready. And then when I do, women will flock to me because they all flock to virtue, right? Because men can easily virtue women into bed. Bullshit. That's why this shit is dangerous. I made this observation with Sterling and Justin and several of the other guys as well. And then a lot of the guys at Rebel Capitalists, I said, we need to be careful of who we like. People look to me and they look to these guys as teachers. People want to say, well, you need to homeschool your kids. We're doing that. We're doing that even when you're an adult. We're still homeschooling ourselves because guys don't see any value in any kind of education. They don't see any value in going to school. They don't see any value because it's a communist training camp, right? Or it's all feminists, or it's just money down the drain that you could be. You don't need to read books. You could just go out there and learn shit that you need to know from YouTube and then go out there and make a lot of money, right? Well, education is its own reward. So I'll throw that one out there. That's my personal opinion. Okay. This is not an objective thing. This is my bias. Education is its own reward. You should be an educated human being. I think so. Specialization is for insects. Where did that quote come from? But I think a human particularly a man, you should be a Renaissance man. You should be able to speak knowledgeably about a great many different topics. And if you can't, you should learn. You should have the curiosity to want to learn those things. And sometimes that mastery and learning takes time. And you have to be forced into a regimen and a routine to do so. It's not always just like, what am I going to learn today? I think I'll go to YouTube and learn how to hang drywall. That's not education. I participate in a few accounts where we're talking about like how to write well. And I had to learn how to write. I've always been pretty good with language, not to gloss myself any more than I already do, but I've always been pretty good with words, but I had to learn to write, and I did not learn to write in college. I learned English in college. I learned how to put sentences together. I learned how to write for college, but I never learned how to write. until I started until I published books, right? Until I trial and error. People go, oh man, your first book's full of syntax errors and typos and everything. Yeah, it is, because I thought that was going to be the last book I ever wrote. I didn't know that it was going to be the Bible of the manosphere. I didn't know that it was going to, put Rollo Tomasi on the map. And by the way, just to answer questions, because I saw it in the chat earlier on, yes, the edit is coming. However, that said, you still have to have the desire and the drive to do so. And really the only place you do that is in a place where you get educated. And so when guys say, well, why do I need to go to college? What do I need to take this class for? I'll never need it in my job. I'm going to be an electrician. And why do I need to learn Western traditions? Why do I need to learn the classics? Why do I need to learn history? Why do I need to? I'll never use it in my, if you think that you'll never use that education in your vocation, then what? Then I completely understand why people just say, screw it. Fuck it. I don't care. Right. But how do you find what your purpose and your passion is, and what you want to? I don't even say purpose. I don't even like to use the term purpose. How are you going to find? How are you going to like experience a great many different things so you can sort of say, yeah, I like that and I don't like that. You want to talk about pro-choice? That's your pro-choice right there. Why are we not interested in men's choice? And I don't mean that reproductively. I mean choice to do shit. Because everything I see, from Hafiz to Jordan Peterson to Matt Walsh, it limits choice for men. Oh, well, it must be because you're just this player and you're just trying to get with women. I'll tell you, I'll explain you the scientific reason why men don't put emotion into sex. Okay. Women love this. Whenever we get the double standard question, and that's always, well, how come women can, men can go bang a bunch of women and they're superheroes, but if women do it, then they're sluts. Well, because we're different. I've used that a million times. I'm not going to belabor that one, but part of that is women's reproductive cost, their investment in reproduction is much higher than men's. That's why men can innately, genetically, environmentally separate the sex act from an emotional investment. Ejaculate and evacuate. I know John from Our Life Dating made that, big ups, shout out to you, John. Got to give you your props. But that's really what it comes down to. And you know why that's funny and why we talk, what a hit it and quit it. Love them, leave them. That's a Kiss song, right? Why is that even a theme? Because it's a theme for men. It's a theme for us. It's an environmental, an evolutionary theme amongst men. We don't put as much emotional investment in the sex act. We can, especially if there's a child involved. It's not that men can't be parentally invested. We are. And eventually we do invest emotions into it, but we are in no way the same when it comes to the emotional investment that women put into sex, because they have a higher investment cost. It might be that even if they make a good choice, it's a death sentence for them, or it used to be back in our hunter-gatherer days, that no one wants to acknowledge because they're too hung up on whatever their moralism is, or their conviction, or their religious, convictions or belief or spiritual beliefs are. Even Hafiz is talking about that as if that's something that you need to pursue. It needs to be you need a well-rounded education. And part of that is learning the nature of men and learning the nature of women and how they interact. The intersectionality of men's nature and women's nature. How come we don't have that? You know why? Because men don't have choice. Because the minute we start talking about like sexual expression for men, it's creepy. And well, why would you want to do that? You're not on your game. Acquire currency, my friend. Ignore women. I know that meme too. Thanks. But the thing is like people think, well, if I'm on my point and I'm on my purpose and I'm spiritually correct and I'm on my money and I'm on my physique, that doesn't matter. Everything else will fall into place. No, it won't, because you'll end up like Johnny Depp. You'll end up like freaking Jeff Bezos. You will end up like Michael B. Jordan. Is he not on his, he can get laid with whoever he wants to, right? But if you don't have that well-rounded education, if you're not educated in a great many things, and one of those things being intersexual dynamics, if you're not educated in that way, you're going to get rolled, man. And many men do. Oh, I think a marriage would be a great idea. Right, Matt? Let's talk about that for a minute here. Let's put you back in.
They'll hate that man and organize a Me Too mob to come after him. Because as usual, they don't much like the Frankensteins they've created.
No, they won't. There won't be any woke mob. That's just it, Matt. It will be other men like you who come after him. You will be the woke mob because you're playing the role, and you're going to play it more right here.
But in most cases, totally emotionless and consequence-free sex is an illusion?
Yeah, it is. But men engage in it in record numbers and more so than ever before, courtesy of pornography, and will continue to do so. Like, they're either like, do you think that these guys, do you think that the 28% of men represented here or the male virgins represented, or 27% of male, do you think they're just not rubbing one out? He'll be the first one to talk shit about pornography. That men can dissociate emotion from sex. That's what we do. We're very efficient at it. That's why we objectify women naturally, innately. That's why what they've done was fMRI studies of men's brains, where that when they see a half naked woman's body on a magazine cover or something like that, it triggers the part of our brains that is associated with tool use. We literally see women as parts before we see them as a whole. It's not because, and that is, by the way, that's a feature, not a bug of human nature, of male nature, because we want to immediately assess reproductive viability the minute we see a woman. We size women up instantaneously. You've probably heard this before. Like, what is it? Women know within the first 5 minutes of meeting you whether they're going to fuck you or not. That I think is 100% false. I think that they know within the first 5 minutes of meeting you that they won't fuck you. And we both do. Men and women both do this. I think women probably do it a little bit slower because they have to take their time at it. However, they've got to do something, and men are much more efficient at it because we are much more, because we know our time is finite, right? I made this very bold statement on Fresh and Fit this week, and I was talking about like reproductive strategies. Rape is a reproductive strategy. Go read The Ape That Understood the Universe by Steve Stewart Williams. I am quoting from there, paraphrasing from this. Okay. So during times of war, you'll hear women say this all the time. Well, I mean, rape has been always used as a weapon in war against women. It's like, no, that's a reproductive strategy is what that is. Because when you are in wartime and the bullets are flying past you and you have some downtime or whatever, and you don't know if tomorrow's you're going to draw your last breath, it is in your biological evolutionary best interest to take matters into your own hand. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's an endorsement. This is not even really a thought experiment. I'm just saying, look at the functionality of it. If you know that tomorrow could be your last day on Earth, you're going to want to spread the seed as quickly as possible, because if you don't survive, maybe your offspring will. That's not me. That's evolutionary psychology. That's, by the way, people say, oh, he just rips off David Buss. That's David Buss. That's Steve Stewart Williams. Rob Henderson, don't come at me. Come at your boys. That's where I'm pulling it from. And it makes sense. It makes pragmatic sense. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's not even a weapon of war. It probably is, but it's also a reproductive strategy. So again, I return to the fact that men have no problem separating the emotional investment from sex, and it is not even an afterthought for most guys, particularly guys who are in this demographic here, jerking off to porn all the time, and they don't feel, and they're going to go back to smoking weed and eating their edibles and taking their freaking Vicodin or whatever the fuck they're doing, whatever, the playing World of War. Let's go back to Call of Duty. I rubbed one out. Now it's time to go back to doing what I was doing. It's too easy to get pleasure. I will agree with that. You want to talk again? They said, as I started this whole thing out, this is not an essay. This is not an interview or an insight into any kind of moral conviction. This is just what I don't deal in what should be. I deal in what is. And this guy is trying to explain that this what is, or what should be, I should say.
The attempt to neuter sex in this way, to turn it into a meaningless interaction between nameless sets of sex organs, just creates a mass orgy of confusion and despair, otherwise known as hookup culture.
Yes. And who is doing that? Who's doing the choosing, right? Women's right to choose. Who's accountable for that? This is why I did this entire show, by the way. Here we're now at the most salient part. Here we are, almost 2 hours in. We are at the most salient part of this video right now. Okay. He's going to take all the shit that he's done up to this point for the last, what is he at now? For the last 7.5 minutes, or almost 8 minutes now. And he's going to turn it back on you guys. You're going to turn it back on men. You might be a rapist. Remember, Jordan Peterson said, you're a very, very bad man because you tried to get laid. Hafiz says, you're wasting your time. Don't try to get with women. They'll come to you once you've made yourself, right? Okay. Now, what is Matt going to tell us here?
And yet, even though hookup culture utterly fails to make anybody happy,
there is no hookup culture. And if there is, it's only women doing it, not guys who are separating the sex act from the emotion.
And instead succeeds in making everyone lonely and miserable, it was still able to linger on as long as it had abortion as its failsafe. Because abortion was...
Like that choice of words, gentlemen? Did you catch that? Abortion as its failsafe. Who's been telling you that since 2014? Actually, even probably 2012. Who's been telling you that for the last 10 years? Who's been saying that?
Say my name.
Yeah, Matt. Say my name. I'm the one that brought that up. I'm the one that coined that phrase. I'm the one that said that abortion is a fail-safe. For what? For bad reproductive choices. Only women get pregnant, okay? Only uterus-bearing humans can have a baby and take it to term and bring a life into the world, okay? You want to know what a woman is? That's a woman. A woman can do that. Bravo, you figured it out finally at what, 46 years old? Well done. So when we're, I know, sorry, I lose my train of thought here because it's just so freaking out over the top here. But it is a failsafe for reproductive choice, for bad reproductive choices. But when we start talking about how that child comes into that uterus in the first place, that's all we fucking focus on. We don't focus on the fact that there's only one person who makes a choice whether the baby lives or dies, and that is a woman. Because men don't have a seat at the table, and you'll have to forgive me if I get real heated over this, because I've heard this constantly since the 80s, really, but up to now, and you're going to hear this more in the coming months because it's a political hot button, and the only reason we're having this discussion right now is because you're going to hear about this right up until November 9th, and then his job's done. And then the role's over, and he goes on to whatever the next fucking role is. So here's the reality of it. Only a woman can have a kid, and only she can terminate the pregnancy. Yes. Are there abortion doctors that end the child? Yes, it is. She's the hitman, or he's the hitman. She's the one who puts out the contract. I ask again, Matt, and I asked this on Fresh and Fit at the very beginning of this video. Is she guilty of murder? Even if she's not guilty of murder one, is she guilty of manslaughter? Maybe the abortion doctors are guilty of murder, but she put out the hit. Is she now an accomplice to that, to murder one? Because I'll tell you this, if a woman is pregnant and a guy kills that woman, he's on the hook for 2 murders, but not when the mother terminates the pregnancy. As I said before, once the sperm leaves your body, you are effectively powerless, gentlemen. That's not choice. We want to talk, what about pro-choice? What about pro-choice for men? What about pro-choice? Here's our pro-choice. I'm pro-choice when it comes to whether or not men want to be invested in that kid. I think they should be. Don't get me wrong. I think the choice they should make is be invested in the child, but they're not given that choice. And that's why I'm going to come to this section right here, where I've been hearing women talk about this bullshit about how, well, what is there? What social initiative is there that's out there that controls a man's body? Well, selective services is number one. It's not the draft. And you know what? If women ran the world, there would be no wars. Really? Even that is specious. Am I saying that right? Because it's women, vagina bearing humans do not have to sign up for selective services. Now, what do you lose if you don't? Well, you can be fined up to $250,000. You can spend 5 years in jail if you don't do that. You cannot hold a government job. You cannot be a U.S. citizen. You can't be a naturalized U.S. citizen as a man of 18 wanting to enter this country if you do not sign up for selective services. And on top of that, you can't hold government jobs. You're excluded from federal loans, federal financial aid. And in some cases, in some states, you can't even get a driver's license, and you cannot vote as a result of you not signing up for selective services. If that's a state thing. Federally speaking, though, you could be, and you know what's funny? If you're found guilty of that, then you will not be considered for any of those privileges, or even in some cases rights. Probably not voting, but like certainly some of those privileges for life. That's it. So you want to talk about a permanent legislation that controls men's bodies, because and the way you can factor this in is essentially what you're saying is, men, you have to be a bullet catcher if war arises, and we want to know what flavor of the military you'd like to be in as a bullet catcher. Women, uterus bearing humans, you're exempt. You can have all those rights and privileges and everything else, all that good stuff, just for the taking. You can enter the country, even, ladies. You don't have to sign up you don't have to take a bullet for this country. You don't have to do that. But yet we're going to talk. But yet you have the right to vote. You don't bear the same responsibility. I mean, ultimately, shit hits the fan. You don't bear the same responsibility that men do. You want to know why Myron and Fresh are so controversial? That's why. So now, if you are familiar with my work, you've probably already read the chapter in the first book. It's called Truth to Power. And when I talk about power, I put it in terms where I say, power is not actually your ability to control other people's lives or to crush them or to be a tyrant about it. It is the degree to which you have control over your own life. The degree where you get to say, okay, I choose this and I don't choose that. Because that's what it comes down to. If I am pro-choice, ladies, if you call yourself pro-choice, and you call yourself a feminist and you believe in equality and all that other shit, then you should also believe in you should be pro-choice for men's choice. I choose not to do that. I choose not to be invested in this child. I choose not to be whatever, or I choose to. And maybe you should appreciate that choice because it encompasses sacrifice on my part. Do we even think about that? No, because we live in a gynocentric social order that is founded on female solipsism. That's why. You will not hear this from Matt. You won't hear this on Daily Wire. You won't hear this on The Blaze. You won't hear this anywhere but this fucking channel right here. Or maybe Fresh and Fit. But if you're not holding, if you want to believe in equality and you're not holding both men and women accountable for the reproductive process, you are on one side or the other. You're most likely, in this case, in Matt's side, he's on team woman. Everything that's come out of his mouth for the last 5 minutes in this thing has been about how men need to take more responsibility. Well, the problem is we don't have the authority to make a choice. That's why. We can't make a choice about whether or not we're going to be involved in the child's life. We can't make a choice, even if we're going to get a DNA test. We can make a choice about whether or not we're going to be financially responsible for a child that's not ours if we contest it. But how many guys do?
Supposed to be sort of the fortress defending the individual from the natural results of their own choices. Meanwhile, inside that fortress, everybody is sad and confused and leading small, pathetic, self-centered little lives. But that's the way it was set up. And now the fortress has been weakened. There are cracks and gaps all around.
No, they're not, actually, because and here, you want predictions? Rollo's never wrong. I hate being right all the time. This will be over by November 9th, right afterwards. You know how I know that? Because they deliberately kicked the Roe v. Wade decision back to the states. What do we decide in a midterm election? Not the presidency, not the executive branch. We decide things on the state level. In fact, Biden was very vocal about that. He read that aloud, like, Roe v. Wade is on the ballot this year. We believe in a woman's right to choose, and if you do too, get to the polls, ladies. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what he was saying. That's why it was kicked back to the states, because in the midterm elections are about the United States. It's state by state. That's why they kicked it out of federal, so that you'll go vote for that. And guaranteed, you won't hear jack shit on November 9th, November 10th, November 12th. Guaranteed. No one will care about it. Or some smart guy or some smart woman who got elected will then go and say, oh, I'm going to go and propose an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution that everyone hates, but we'll go and do this anyways, just as a formality here. And we're going to say, oh, we're going to make it a right for women to have an abortion, because as it stands right now, there is no amendment. There's nothing in the Constitution about a woman's right to an abortion. It's privacy, yes, okay, because people are going to throw this, well, we did and now they're gone. No, what right do you not have? Because you never had a right to an abortion. You had a right to privacy. You had a right. Roe v. Wade was really a privacy issue, not an actual pro-abortion thing. And from that, we made it a federal thing. Now it's kicked back to the states because we haven't reconsidered it since 1974. That's why. And if you look at the stats, you can see why. Bad reproductive choices. Again, I ask you this. Should those women be tried for murder? If we're going to, because here he is saying the game has changed. We've taken away the failsafe. Okay, let's go down the logical rabbit hole here and say, well, if we eliminate Roe v. Wade altogether, and you believe, as you've said several times, I got the video to prove it, that abortion is murder, then should we try women for murder 1? If not murder 1, then how about murder 2? Can we get them for manslaughter? Can we get them that way? Because if you're not willing to take that step, if you're not willing to go over that step later on down the road, everything that comes out of your mouth is horse shit.
Where consequence in the form of new life can rush in. Some pro-abortion people have decided that the only way forward is to abandon the fortress completely. Give up on hookup culture. Stop trying to have sex without consequence.
No, they don't.
And this is the right response, even if they don't have the right motivations behind it. And who knows? Maybe if they give up on hookup culture, then they'll discover that what they were trying to protect themselves from is much better than what they were trying to protect.
Right. But it's not about the women. It's not. It's only about horrible men who are potential rapists, who don't want to take responsibility, right? Who clearly don't have the same emotional investment in the sexual act that women do. The poor ladies, my goodness, whatever shall we do, Matt?
Perhaps they'll abandon their pursuit of consequence-free, loveless, pointless sex and learn to embrace the alternative. And the alternative is not celibacy, but a committed, faithful relationship with another human being who you know and love and who you've devoted yourself to through the bonds of marriage and to whom you can give yourself fully and completely without fear or reservation.
Okay, now. Great. I love the sales pitch. Marriage sells, but who's buying, baby? Who's buying? That's the whole thing. And now here's going to be the kicker for you, because I'm probably going to step on a lot of toes with this one. The one area of conflict that I had with Kevin Samuels was the fact that he was very much in the same vein as Matt is here when it came to marriage. Okay, now. I'm not speaking for Kevin. I certainly would not ever even attempt to do something like that. But however, if marriage is your solution to all of this, and you do not include the idea that marriage needs reformation in a legal sense, if there needs to be choice, and if you're going to talk about responsibility, if you're going to talk about all this great, commitment and all this other crap that goes along with marriage, which I'm not saying it's not great, right? I think I am very much a proponent of marriage for 26 years. I'm just against the way we do it now. And unless you address that, your goal is only just to put guys back on the plantation, Matt. It is the worst decision a man can make when it comes to finances, when it comes to personal development, you look at all of the downside effects that marriage has on men. Men have more maneuverability, more rights. And I'm saying this as a happily married guy here, and I'm sure he is too. I've been married longer than Matt has been. Okay. As a happily married man with an ideal marriage, more or less, most men would say an ideal marriage. I'm going to tell you right now, I would not advocate marriage for guys. I know guys are going to do it, and I hope you can make the best of it. I'm saying that is a very, idealistic, hopeful dream for most men. When you look at the marriage rate right now, I would love to ask Matt this. Do you think that if we eliminated abortion altogether, that more men would go, you know what? I think Matt's right. I think I should go get married. Do you think that the marriage rate would go up if we completely abolished abortion? We took it away from the states. We said, okay, we're no longer United States, no more abortions. If we did that, do you think that men and women would go, okay, well, I guess our only alternative is to be in a committed, wonderful relationship with another human being where we can be completely vulnerable and blah, 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 blah. Do you think that would change anything? Because right now we have the lowest marriage rate in the history of the United States, 5.1 per 1,000. And we have a very, by the way, because people go, well, we have very low divorce rates. Yeah, we do, because we have a very low marriage rate. You can't have divorce if people ain't getting married in the first place. Give me this bullshit. Okay. Here, for anybody who throws this at me, because I know some people have been critical of me as well on this. Again, look when this happens. 1965. Look at that. Look at that spike right there in the divorce rate. Got it? Using the pill versus the divorce rate. Okay. And it jumped up. It peaked right around 2010. And there you go. And you know what? If you keep going from 2010 all the way to 2020, you'll see that it drops off more. We have because if you look at right about where, let's see, 1975 all the way to 2010, you can see how this, how divorce tracks with hormonal birth control. Is that the next thing? Maybe we should take away hormonal birth control, Matt. Maybe we should do that too. Maybe every time you fuck your wife, you should run the risk of having a child. Because clearly, I mean, let's look. I mean, the longer your wife's on the pill, I mean, it tracks with the divorce rate, right? So the longer you're on the pill, do you enjoy loving, wonderful, committed sex with your wife because of hormonal birth control? Or are you wrapping the rascal every time you knock it out? Right? Because technically, I mean, if you're going to talk about risks, that's a fucking hell of a risk, my friend. So what I'm saying here, I'm not saying don't get married. I'm not saying that he's not right about this. He is right about this. I'm just saying it's very Pollyanna and very ignorant of this situation, contractual marriage, right? Well, if she's into it and you're into it and you have a loving relationship, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. That's not it. It's not that every woman will, it's that any woman can. You are powerless. You still, like, even in the best, and I'm speaking as a guy in a really good relationship, even as a guy in a good relationship, if you are in, and you both have this understanding, you have this mutual love, and you have this understanding of like gender roles and everything, your conventional gender roles, great, awesome. But you know what? In the back of her head, she's like, divorce is always an option. I can always do it. If I want to, I can really fuck his life up, because you don't have the authority to tell her no. You don't have the choice to tell her no.
And when you encounter the natural consequence of sex, the formation of a new human life, you'll learn to see it not so much as a consequence, but as a blessing and a gift. With this perspective and this attitude of true acceptance, you'll also experience what is known as joy.
Joy.
Which is something that you'll never find in hookup culture.
Yeah, and you probably never find it on pornography either. Well, again, it's a container. Joy is a container word. I'm not saying it's not. He's wrong. It's a wonderful sentiment, but that's what it is. It's a sentiment. I'm not saying you shouldn't strive for that. I'm not saying it's not an admirable goal, but you're preaching to the choir, and you're also, I should add, is that marriage benefits women right now. Does not benefit men whatsoever. And quite honestly, I think a guy like Andrew Tate is probably a more honest hustler than Matt is as a hustler. Because at least Andrew is upfront about it. He doesn't lie about it. He doesn't talk shit about it, right? He is pro-masculine in the most pro way you can be masculine. And so, again, we start with the little lady's having a problem, and he wants to make it all. He wants to yuck it up with everything else. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of all this, the solution is marriage. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying that it's leading you back onto the plantation afterwards. Okay, let me go through these super chats, because I got a lot of them and I gotta pick up. Thank you guys for doing so, because there is no after the anal beads comment, I probably will not be able to. I'm not even gonna bother monetizing this. Let's see, what do I got going here? And I also got some text on the side there. Oh, look, here's our, speaking of which, don't forget, this show is sponsored by Love Chat XYZ, best adult entertainment dating site. Maybe you can find your anal beads there. There's that attention you were looking for. Let's see, Funky, I got you. Let's see, who else do I got here? Is he the last one? I think he was the last one in line, wasn't he? Okay. All right. And thank you, Sammy, for following me along. Let's whip through these real quick. Lord Panic. Hi, Rollo. Great to see you in studio again. Slightly off topic, but any tips on concise report writing? You mean for school? I would. Okay. Yes, actually, I do have some tips for you. Here's what you do. You go and you buy this book. Okay. Listen, write this down because I can't put this up on the screen. Write this down. The author's name is Josh Bernhoff, Bernoff, Bernhoff. Josh Bernhoff. He wrote a book called Writing Without Bullshit that fundamentally changed the way I think about writing and like period. If people have noticed a change in my writing style, that's because I read that book. I try not to waste my readers' time anymore with like $10 words. I only use them when I think they're absolutely necessary. I think what that book taught me is that my ideas are more important than actually how I'm delivering those ideas, right? So writing to an 8th grade level, but like sticking to the same ideas is actually not wasting the reader's time. And that will help you with all writing. I don't care if it's a tweet. It will help you with writing. Get that book. It's called Writing Without Bullshit, and it's by Josh Bernhoff. Vinny, what about vasectomies and sperm freezing? What about them? What about them? You mean like, what should we do about them? Because right now, it's like, I watched this video. Did you guys see this? It was, let me pull that up for a second. There's a video about, somebody sent this to me on Instagram. And it was somebody, I forget the guy's name, a very well-known YouTuber was talking about now is the time for male birth control. And it wasn't snarky. It wasn't like stupid. It wasn't like, oh, guys need to keep their pecker in their pants. It was more about how, like, questioning why is it that we have genetic manipulation to the point where we can like genetically modify mosquitoes so they don't have dengue fever, right? Why is it that we can put a lander, like several landers on Mars and get 4K streaming video back from, another planet 2 million miles away, but we still haven't figured out how to turn male fertility on and off? Why? Well, there's two reasons. Either we can't figure it out, or we won't, or we can and we won't. And I will go with the latter. That's what I think about that. Male sperm freezing. I would say that's probably ridiculous. Unless you are, I would say, wasn't there, I think, don't they do this like for male sperm freezing? Don't they, like, if you're going to die, like you got some terminal illness and they go, okay, you're too valuable. We need your DNA to go on into perpetuity. They'll like, you could rub one out in a cup or something like that. They'll freeze it and then they'll impregnate some future woman. Kyle, forcing men to get medical procedure because women can't get one. This is whose line where the points don't matter. Yeah. Well, the reason, okay, Kyle, I know you meant to, I know you meant well, but let's analyze that for a second. Whenever I've seen, and I did this in the vasectomy thing. Okay. Whenever a man gets a vasectomy, the reason why I did the vasectomy episode wasn't actually because of abortion. It was because I kept seeing these things from like Congress people. Whenever there was any kind of implied threat to Roe v. Wade, they'd always bring that up. Well, how about we give you a vasectomy and we take control of your bodies, right? That's how you got to the, is there a law that takes men's bodies away from their accountability away from them or controls their bodies? And then, of course, the answer is always selective services to something like that. Because, again, the power side, I didn't finish that thought, did I? When it comes to power, as I said before, the ability to direct your life is really power. Sometimes that might be manipulating and being a tyrant because you need a whole bunch of people to do what you want to do in your life, right? Okay, I get that. I mean, in a negative sense, then yeah, if you decide to use your power destructively rather than constructively, sure, I understand that. It's how it's contextualized. However, nuts and bolts is power really comes back to your ability to control the direction of your own life. Okay. Well, it's one thing if a woman says, well, you're controlling my body and you're not going to force me to have children that I don't want to have, blah, 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 because Jordan Peterson said any man could possibly be a rapist. And by the way, that's 1 degree away from women saying that all men are rapists. Just throwing that out there. The other part of that whole thing is that when we start talking about taking away women's right to choose, we don't really care too much about, because men are the disposable sex, women are the vulnerable sex. That's why we focus on the female side of it. That's why it's very solipsistic, right? We want to focus only on women's sexual expression and their own reproductive choices rather than men's reproductive choices, because men are disposable. We're the disposable sex. We're the sacrificial sex. It's about our sacrifice. We shouldn't complain about it because women always got it tougher because they're the vulnerable sex, right? On a hindbrain, lizard brain level, that's really where it comes back down to. But there is nothing that takes away a man's power or his ability to decide how to do his life than the obligation to lose his life, to sacrifice his life. And in this case, it's really easy to make that comparison because you're in selective services and the potential is you can go die in combat, right? However, that's the implication of that. Now, women never have an answer to that. And in fact, their only answer is always going to be like, oh, well, we wouldn't have wars if women were in charge. Well, you're not in charge. Neither will you ever be in charge. You can control the purse strings, but men are always going to be men, right? That's in our nature. We fight. We are hierarchical. Until you can change the machine, God forbid you do, transhumanism or whatever the hell you want to call it. Until you do, we're still the same machine that we were 100,000 years ago. And we like to fight, and we like to fuck, and we like to run, and we like to do dangerous, risky, stupid shit sometimes because that's part of conventional masculinity. As I've said before, the same thing that makes those guys on Jackass do stupid ass stunts, that same impetus is the same thing that drives that fireman to go into the burning building and save the baby. That's why. That's all it is contextualized. Dang, dang, dang. No one wants a solution because abortion was the boogeyman that paid a lot of people on the right. Yes, it is. And it's still, and it will continue to do so, my friend. I'm glad you brought that up because it's very, very true. My parting thoughts is going to be about that, by the way. Irish Alpha, isn't there a fiscal problem with abortion? Western women have spent generations killing off future taxpayers and the service providers who pay for the rights of entitled elderly millennials. Yes and no, but I will make your point for you here. I made this point on Fresh and Fit. As I said before earlier, women over who make over $47,000 per year abort their children at 32%. Women who make $11,860, like at the poverty line, only abort 8.6% of their children. Those are the stats. I didn't make those up. You can go look that up right now. Oh, I don't believe him. Where's he getting this? Go look it up. Do the fucking work. Do it. Go and look that shit up. I'm not pulling this out of my ass. I had the stats on Fresh and Fit. I just don't have them right now. So what does that tell you about us? And I even asked Myron this on that show. What does that tell you about the socioeconomics of abortion? Which demographic, which ethnicity, which social demographic, I guess, of women makes $47,000 a year or more? Riddle me that, Batman. What are your thoughts on the Daily Wire getting into the movie business? Hey, I'm all for it, but don't expect me to not rub your nose in it. Magnus Loot Crate. What kind of loot do you get in a crate? Is that like for a video game loot crate? Most of the men I've seen, most of the women I've seen threatening to not have sex after Roe versus Wade are women Captain Ahab wouldn't harpoon. Yes, they're all big fat chicks, right? Ha ha ha.
Stomp that bitch.
There you go.
Bye, Felicia.
There you go. Yeah, that's always fun. But isn't that the George Carlin joke? You ever notice that the women who are against abortion are women or that you wouldn't want to fuck in the first place? Fresh. Is this Fresh? Is this really the Fresh? Is this really the Fresh? Mm-hmm. BBC Gang, we up endorses safe hookup culture. I'm sure. No, this is not Fresh. That is not Fresh. Is that Fresh? It might be Fresh. Love from Turkey. Hey, love to you too, my friends, my good friends in Istanbul. I am going to have Dr. Oz on this show. I really wish I could have talked with him longer on Fresh and Fit, but we had like technical difficulties and it really kind of rubbed me the wrong. I left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I really want to get him on because he's a fantastic, fascinating interview. Fresh as moobs. No.
She's not a Christian.
Rollo is this beautiful East African girl that liked me and I checked her Instagram out. Turns out she's a raging feminist. Safe to say I blocked her and she's been trying to talk about this motherfucker. Okay. You see, Rollo's the man. You see, now I understand. You guys got can we please like appreciate the show? I'll read all of these supers. I don't care if it's a $4.99. Although I think probably on my Sunday show, I might halfway through the show start only reading like 20 and up, just because it slows the show down. And thank you, Angel, for your $1.99 that I'm about to make a big deal out of. White Lion, wait. Hey Rollo, do you think I need a sound drop for that? Do you think self-deleting is natural selection at its best? No, it's at its worst, but I do understand it. Oops, hold on one second. Let's pull you out. Self-deletion. This is where I disagree with it. Well, maybe I don't fully disagree with Tate, but Tate talks about like how there's no such thing as depression, right? If you read books, you'll understand this. That self-deletion and depression are actually features of human nature, not a bug. And I know that sounds weird because we always want to take antidepressants. We always want to feel good. We always want to be drunk. We always want to get off. We always want something that's going to be pleasurable to us. And in this day and age, we've never had easier access to things that really get us off, right? And so to live a life that isn't like 100% happy all the time seems like a waste, or it seems like like a living hell, when in fact, happiness, by the way, is not a result, or it's not an end result. It's a process. So, and even Rob Henderson, he's the one who made me aware of this. Thank you, Rob. But happiness is not a place you get to. It's the process. It's the journey that you use to get to the next achievement. Because emotion, and not just happiness, but emotion in general, is meant to motivate behavior in animals in general. Because I believe like higher animals, like certainly dogs have emotions. Primates have emotions. They might be rudimentary emotions, but really what's the function of emotion? Well, it's to interpret your environment and figure out what the hell to do about it. So you've got base emotions like fear and disgust and, all that the base one. I think there's 5 or 7 base emotions. But happiness is one of those. Joy, just like Matt was talking about. That's the thing is Matt, I'm going to shit on Matt here for a second, because this is emotion versus emotion here. But what women in general and a female mentality in general think of as happiness is a state of sustainable contentment of that happiness. That's why women are really prescribed more antidepressants than ever before. I used that stat on Fresh and Fit last week. And the reason for that is because we have a fundamental misbelief about joy and about contentment and about long-term good feels before reals. The reals is this, is that emotion is meant to prompt us to it from one state to another. So if you're unhappy and you're pissed off, that's meant to provoke you to get to another state. Let me see if I can explain this in as bonehead a way as I can. You ever get hangry? Right? You get, God damn it, I'm going to eat something. I'm pissed off because I need some food. It's like that Snickers commercial. You turn into Joe Pesci, and then I'm Joe Pesci. And he eats a Snickers and he turns back into who he was. Like when you're hungry, you're not who you are, right? Very true. Because what that hunger, what that hangry emotion does is it motivates, in our ancestral past, it would motivate us to go and run down game, kill it, and eat it. That's what it's meant. That's the latent function of that hangry, whatever we're calling it these days. Hangry. That's a pretty good one. Well, that's what it's there for. You're upset. You're angry. You're aggressive because you haven't eaten yet. And as soon as you do eat, you're fat, happy, sated, and everything else until you're not again, and you start it over. Emotion is meant to get us from one state to another state. Hungry, not hungry. Well, what's the state between those? Pissed off. And so you can do the same thing about sexual deprivation. What's the state? Well, sexlessness, and I want to get laid. The proximate cause, of course, is proximate and ultimate cause. The ultimate cause is reproduction, right? Matt's right about that. He's wrong about the proximate cause. The proximate cause is everybody wants some. David Lee Roth understood the proximate cause of sex. Probably not the ultimate cause, which is I need to have babies. Well, maybe he did eventually, but when he was writing Everybody Wants Some, that's what should be the name of this. That should be the title of this show. Everybody wants some. Want some? Got some. And it doesn't have to be sex. It could be a lot of other things too. But we go from one state to another state. And depression, by the way, and self-deletion is the ultimate end of that in some cases, right? You can't solve your problem. You can't get, if you literally cannot get from one state to another, but because you're oppressed or whatever it is, and you lose hope, you lose that magical thinking that keeps you alive, then you might self-delete. And I'm not saying it's a problem, because killing off your, like ending your genetics, like stopping your DNA in transit is the ultimate failure, right? You go extinct. Literally, you take your genes out of the pool on your own, unless you already had a kid and then whatever. But the idea of depression is, in some ways, it's an adaptation. People argue that it's an adaptation, because depression and being sad and everything else and sort of knuckling under to forces that would otherwise take away your power, right, would kill you. It makes better sense to be a coward. It makes better sense to not stand up to your bullies. It makes better sense to be depressed than it does for the alternative, which is you get killed. Right? You realize on some level of consciousness that if you try to oppose that superior force, it's like the irresistible force on the immovable wall. Like if you try to be the immovable wall and that irresistible force like pushes you over and kills you, well, maybe there needs to be a fail safe of you get sad and depressed and everything else until such time as you work up enough courage and that the forces that be weaken enough for you to go and seek revenge. Revenge is another, like revenge seeking can also be a form of moving from one state to another. So again, that's the, I think anyways, this is all theory, by the way. I'm not like saying that here's the studies for this. This is just popular thinking. Okay. Rollo, between social media, globalized internet, partisan politics, and failing economy, do you think we could be at the precipice of behavioral sink for human species? Yeah, but we were there in World War I. We were there in World War II. We were there in the Civil War. We were there, and you name the human conflict, and I could probably bring up exactly the same thing there. Are we on the precipice? Yeah, and we were, and we went into war as a result of it. Oh, that's you. Hang on, let me kill that out. Dark Knight Dev says, if sexuality is a woman's agency, then what is a man's agency, and how is it expressed? Okay, well, glad you asked. For $5, I'll give you a very long answer here. Well, men must become and women just are. I sound like Matt. And men just are. Because women's sexual agency is more or less given to them. As Myron brings us up occasionally, he'll talk about how it's like winning the lottery and you've got all this money, you've got to make good investments with it. Whereas men have to earn that investment and earn that money and become something more than they are. To be a man, to be a positively masculine guy who is selected, and I don't mean just sexually, obviously, but it could be like for long-term or short-term mating. You've got to be something. You don't just get it handed to you. Even the guys who you think are naturals, like show me a picture of Giga Chad, and I'll show you that dude in the gym becoming Giga Chad. Okay, it's not like he just came out of the womb popping pee. I'm Giga Chad. Look at me. Comes out all yoked and big old chin. It looks like freaking the Crimson Chin from what you call it, Fairly Odd Parents. The Crimson Chin and the Nega Chin. Remember? He doesn't come out of the womb like that. He had to become that. Even though we don't see the work. We don't like. You know, it's funny. Whenever I hear guys talk about that Rich Cooper quote about how, like, you know, women don't care about men's struggles. They just stay at the finish line and they fuck the winners. You know who else is at the finish line talking shit about the winners? The guys who never did jack shit. The guys who go, well, Giga Chad was just born on third and he hit a triple, or he just won the genetic lottery. Well, in a way, but he still had to like work out to become Giga Chad. He still has to maintain Giga Chad physique. But you're just like one of these chicks. If that's you, by the way, if you think, oh, it's all about looks, I'm looks maxing and I'm fucked because I didn't win the genetic lottery and I don't want to put the work in. You know what you sound like? You sound like a woman who doesn't care about the struggles of very high value men. You sound just like a chick that you have been conditioned to be. You sound just like the girl that you are the defective girl that became a defective woman that talks shit about a guy like Gigawatt Chad. That's what you sound like. So, moving on. I know I didn't even answer that. Sorry, my bad. I'll come back to it. Gandalf the orange and white. Really? Leave it to Trandcons to fail to look at human nature. Yeah, because you put Evo in front of anything like Evo Psych, Evo Bio, Evo this, Evo that, and they click. That's what they do. That's why I'll never get on Matt Walsh. I'll just go, but evolutionary psychology speaking wise, blah, blah, Evo Bio. But Matt, evolutionary psych. Matt, God's side. That's what it'll be. Yes, you're right. They assume malice. Yes, they do. Instead, they assume malice. That's a very good quote. That is God damn it. That is a hallelujah quote. Very good. Very good, my friend. You go to the front of the class today. Vinny, do Trandcons even acknowledge hypergamy? I have heard some do, but not from an evolutionary perspective. They will acknowledge hypergamy, like, for instance, Vinny, the great question, by the way. I mean, for $2, you're gonna get your money's worth here. If you go and you look at like Jordan Peterson, for example, and would you call Jordan Peterson a Tradcon? Maybe slightly. Probably not now that Michaela's married to a guy who is 7 years her junior. But as far as hypergamy is concerned, you'll hear Tradcons talk about hypergamy, but they only look at it from the beta bucks side of hypergamy. They don't acknowledge, as we've been talking about this entire show, they don't acknowledge the alpha fucks side of hypergamy. They'll never do that, because to do so would mean Evo bike. That's what it would mean. But if it's about personal responsibility, then they're all about it. Well, women want men who are above them. Like if a 7 is here and she's a 7, then she wants a guy who's a 7 or an 8 or a 9, right? As I've said before, the way hypergamy works for women is you got a woman who's a 7 and you got a guy who's a 7, right? And then you got a guy who's an 8. She wants to get with the 8, but she'll accept the 7 if the 7 brings something else to the table. Okay. That's where the Tradcon hypergamy intersection meets. The 7 and the 7. The woman who's a 7 and the guy who's a 7, or it could be like 5 and a 5, right? There's balance, there's parity right there, right? And so instead you got the guy who is an 8. Well, that's pretty obvious. The guy is definitely he's 1 point above her in sexual market value. He's still got to bring more to the table, but he doesn't have to bring as much to the table as a guy who's a 7 as well. So you got this parity. Women, like I said before, hypergamy does not seek its own level. It's always seeking the bigger and the better deal. Well, it'll accept this. Like, women will accept the 7. A guy who's a 7 is on the same level as them. They'll still pine for the 8. But if the guy brings something more to the table that offsets him just being like a lateral move, like in the sexual marketplace for women, then she's more likely to say, well, okay, he's about the same level as me, but at least he's got a great job, or he likes puppy dogs, or he really loves me. And when I get old and I'm not a 7 anymore, he'll still want to stick with me, right? Those things, or at least the perception of those things. So that's the intersection of Tradconism, conservatism, and hypergamy. They only ever look at the attraction qualities of hypergamy. They only look at the provisioning, protection, and parental investment side of hypergamy. And they don't want to see a hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun. I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. They don't look at the 50 Shades of Grey side of hypergamy, because that's not something it can work with, because that sounds like evolution. That sounds like something that, that's just sex. That's only men want raw and animal monkey sex. Women are just saints, and all men are just potential rapists, as these manipulative men are characterized to be these days, courtesy of these dudes, right? So that's where the intersection is, I think, when it comes, like, it's not that Tradcons won't talk about hypergamy. They only talk about one side of hypergamy. There's your $2. You like that? That was pretty good, huh? Hey Rollo, and now goes Jordan Peterson, the Beta Bucks master. Thank you. Okay, there's your $20. you gave me $20 to say that. Yes. Please make English your first language. Caleb, sleeping around is a waste of time. No, I am 28 and slept with a random 21-year-old last weekend.
He chose poorly.
There you go. Oh wait, no, this one too.
She's not a Christian.
I don't think that 24-year-old is a Christian, Caleb. It did not stop me from making 6 figures or going to the gym. Right. Imagine that. Wow. So let's see, Caleb. Conquering young women is something you should be proud of. I think so too. Although I wouldn't use the word conquer. You should certainly learn women's nature. And the way to do that is spin plates. And sometimes that means having sex with them. I hate the term chasing after women. Stop chasing after women and chase after excellence, even though you don't know what the fuck excellence is. Just chase that. You're wasting your time. Like Hafiz says, you're wasting your time, young man, because he's such a great judge of female character. You should not be taking advice from Hafiz when it comes to dating or relationship. You should not be taking Jordan Peterson's relationship advice, particularly now. I think the history has shown, I think since 2017 to 2022, we have already put to bed the idea that Jordan Peterson in no way is red pill, at least in respect to when it comes to intersexual dynamics. He in no way should be giving any men, he's a teacher. And as a teacher, he bears a responsibility, and he bears enough responsibility to shut the fuck up when it comes to relationships, and it comes to sex, and it comes to marriage, and it comes to all this stuff, because he has no frame of reference. All right. What's his notch count, right? I can make that comparison. As I said before, I think Andrew Tate is probably a more honest broker of intersexual dynamics than Jordan Peterson is. And that's saying something, okay? He knows enough not to lie about women. He knows enough not to think, well, people expect me to say something about relationships, even though I've only ever been with this one person. I told her I was going to marry her at 7 years old. I've seen those videos. I've resisted doing breakdown videos of Michaela Peterson interviewing her mom or interviewing her dad. I could very easily dissect that and bring that to fruition, but I'm not going to do that, because the moment I do, everybody goes, "Oh, you're obsessed with Jordan. You're jealous of his success." No, I'm not. I don't give two shits about his success. He's the one who, was addicted to bennies or whatever. I don't want that kind of, I definitely don't want that success. But again, it's like, even if I just say something like that, then people think that, oh, you're all I have to do is say Jordan Peterson. People go, "Oh, he mentioned Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I can't believe it. What's wrong with him? He's obsessed with that family." I do have to point this out, that there are everyone in this space, whether it's me or Jordan Peterson or Matt Walsh or who name your guru, they're teachers, and it's up to you to vet your teachers. It is the onus of education. Remember I said well-rounded education. The onus of a student's education is not on the teacher; it's on the student. You have to say, "Am I learning something from this guy, and what am I learning from this guy?" If you can say, "Well, I learned a lot from Rollo. I learned a lot from Jordan Peterson. I learned a lot from this guy." Well, good for you. But you also have to be the one who's discerning about that, rather than just like, being spoon-fed whatever it is that's coming out of their mouth. Sleeping around is a waste of time. Yeah, no, it's not a waste of time, because again, I don't even use the term sleeping around. Use the term dating non-exclusively, spinning plates, right? You don't, by the way, if you actually read my book, you would know that spinning plates leads to what I call the transition phase, where you go from dating non-exclusively to dating exclusively. I in no way advocate for this eternal spinning of the plates. You know who does, though? Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder. That's churn marketing. You will note that if you take the time to actually read my books, and you read the last chapter of the 6 chapters about spinning plates, the last one says transitioning, and how to go from like non-exclusivity to something that's a well-informed, a good choice. You're making an informed choice. If your choice is, well, I think Matt's right, and I want to have joy, and I want to live in a committed relationship, well, at least you have, gentlemen, if that's your case, if that's your religious convictions, then it is imperative upon you to be red pill. It is imperative upon you to make an educated decision. So at the very least, when you say, well, 50% of marriages end in divorce and I got fucked, you can't go, well, Rollo didn't tell me, or I didn't know any better. I walked into it with both eyes open. At least you can say that. So, Lord Panic. FBI, open up! Rollo, I'm a tech consultant, profitable trader, and hit the gym. Nice. But I lack game in finding women due to the nature of my work. I don't want social media or dating apps. Any starting pointers? All your books are on the way. Why, yes, I have a pointer for you. Funny you should say that. How about this right here, my good friend? Perhaps you should also invest in The Rational Male Player's Handbook. What's the best book for game, Rollo? Well, how about the Player's Handbook? Don't believe me? Don't take my word for it. You could take the word from where did it go? There it is. You can take the word from Amazon. It is the number. I think it's probably number 4 right now. The number 1 bestseller in dating, and that's an impacted category, my friends. I should also add. So this is not the number 1 new release. This is the number 1 bestseller in dating, which is a very tough category to get into. And here's the beautiful book cover done by my good friend Dave Laro. DaveLaro.com. LARO. DAVELARO. There we go. Supplies are limited. Order now. Oh shit! I should have put this on. I should have put this on the whole time. Okay. You know what I need to do is I got to get my A10 mini going so I can do like slides rather than like doing my overlays here, because I tend to over rely on overlays like this one. Oh, so anyways, yes, what's the best book for game? I don't want to learn game. I don't have time for it. Well, okay, here's your book. Go get it. And good thing for you. Oh, and by the way, since there are 1,254 of you in the chat right now, or are viewing, I should say. Yes. Guess what I have on my desktop right now? The audio files for the Audible version of the number 1 best-selling book in dating, also known as the Rational Male Player's Handbook. Audible version, incoming within a week. Yeah, baby. There you go. You like that? The Audible book will be released. I have this. I'm going to submit as soon as I'm done here. As soon as we're done with this very important work, I'm going to submit the files to Audible. The reason I say within a week is because they got to approve it. But it's ready to go. Book cover. Clearly, the book cover is done. So I am going to upload this as soon as I hang up the phone here with you guys, and then it will be inbound, and I will let you know as soon as it has arrived. And by the way, another point to note is the fact that in addition to the Audible book coming out within the week, if you are a redpillions.com NFT holder, and now's the time to buy while Ethereum is in the toilet, because it's a fire sale on those NFTs, right? Go pick one up now. I talked about these with Leah Heilpern. I haven't told anybody this yet. I haven't even discussed this with Kevin or Rocky Savo yet, who are probably watching. But during that show, I probably talked it up for a good 20 minutes, and she was very enthusiastic about it because she's very familiar with the world of women NFTs. And Logan Paul and Reese Witherspoon. I always fuck that up. So I talked about that quite a bit. However, here's the announcement. If you are an NFT holder, we are going to be giving away signed copies, not only of my first book. I have 10 signed copies of my first book and 10 signed copies of the Player's Handbook, which is the 5th book. And they will be going out to people who are NFT holders. And guess what? You can get them for 0.09 Ethereum right now, I believe is what it is. So if you go get that, the odds are you will probably get a signed copy of one of those 20 books. So there's 10 of the first book, and there's 10 of the fifth book. And if I get the request, I will do the other books as well. 2, 3, and 4. Preventive Medicine, Positive Masculinity, and Religion, which actually is a very highly sought after book. Vader. So Vader. No, Luke. Any lie that ends in intercourse is EPAR. Yeah, because it was non-consensual, right? By that logic, Jordan, we should lock up women for wearing makeup and selling purity. Yes, we should, but we don't hold any of them accountable because women's sexuality is divine and men's sexuality is demonic. Yes.
Give me a condom. I want to score twice. There's none left. Damn.
There's your abortion to sound drop for the Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, I mean, do I need to it's funny to me. I hate to even call this like magical thinking because it's not really even magical thinking, but it's true. It's like we don't hold women accountable because they're the vulnerable sex, and we hold men more. As I said before, and by the way, what I'm about to say here, well, I'll just say it. There's a separate standard of justice for men and women. They're different. Like we don't hold women to the same degree, whether in our legal system or even just socially. We don't hold women accountable to the same degree that we hold men accountable. That's a foregone conclusion and a fact. Okay. So when we can talk about, prison sentences for the same crime for men, got it. But the fact remains that it's not just about that. It's because we see women as vulnerable. And it's not, they're the weaker sex. I didn't say weaker. I said they're the vulnerable sex. That was decided by evolution. Funky, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how if women go on sex strike until they codify abortion laws, it's seen as a good. But if men say they want to go on marriage strike until they change marriage laws, it's seen as bad to Trandcons. You can't win. Boy, what a great super chat to end today's show on. I'll come back to that one here in a second. I know I have more. And you will give me 1 second while I do so. Pull that off, please. Thank you. And I see that. I know everybody. You know what? God damn it. This is why I'm going to start only reading like $20 and up super chats. Because you know what you guys do? You guys wait until you go, oh man, it's 2:53 right now. He's going to end in 7 minutes. I better get my super chat in like this. Officially lost. I know you don't give prescriptions, but what are the alternatives to marriage? That's a very good question. Is there ever a scenario to lock down an LTR, a long-term relationship with a partner before 30 as a male? We are in I'm going to do, in fact, I think I might do this with Aaron Clary of all people. Aaron Clary's gay. I want to do a show on a post-marriage world, and because I've ripped him off long enough. It's time to give him his props. And look here, I'm going to post all of these on just this show. Okay, cheap as Tinder, just for sex. There you go. Today is your day, Naked HD. There you go. Only on this show, because this is the abortion show, and clearly men can separate emotion from sexuality. However, let's go back to this. So what's the alternatives? I don't know, but we're going to find out. As I said, I deal in descriptions. I don't deal in prescriptions. We live in a post-marriage world, and I feel kind of bad about this. I know my daughter's going to get married. I know that, my niece and my nephew will probably get married at some point. And what am I going to say? I'm going to say, dude, what am I going to tell? Like, it's one thing, like for my daughter and my niece I will have a different conversation with them than I would my nephew, who I really love like a son, right? But I love you guys like a son too. So I would tell you the same thing, right? Like, think about it. Be careful. If you're going to make that decision, understand the sacrifice and understand the risks that you are taking by doing that. I hope, like, I hate it. You guys don't understand the conflict that I deal with all the time when it comes to like marriage and stuff. Cause I'm not red pill enough because I'm married, and I'm not married enough because I'm red pill. I get that all the time from Trandcons and from like black pill doomers. Well, he's married, so you shouldn't listen to anything that Rollo has to say. He's been married for 26 years. Blah, 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 like talking out my ass, like freaking Jim Carrey, right? Okay, well, if that's the case, then what about when I tell you like evolution? And what if I tell you about like, the stuff that I offer you any value beyond the fact that you're just going to disqualify me because I've been married for X amount of years? I have an experience and a wealth of knowledge that I can convey in books, and I can, help you out with. Should I not do that? Should you just go, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to follow the top G? Right? Is that what you ought to do? Or can you take advice from people who have been married for 25, 26 years? You'll listen to Jordan Peterson tell you you're a rapist, but you won't listen to Rollo Tomasi tell you be careful, right? You won't listen to me tell you about like, you're not a rapist. You're just a human being. You're just human like anyone else. It's not the evil cabal of Moloch worshiping, baby eating, Satanists. It's actually you. It's me. It's because we're human beings. Though the people who are in that cult, that nebulous, Svengali puppet master and the Illuminati, they're human beings. Everybody wants some, and they're just like you and me. They want some too. Even Klaus. I talked about Klaus on Fresh and Fit, and with George Gammon on Adam Sosnick's show. We talked about Klaus. Not Klaus Meine from the Scorpions, but we talked about Klaus, the one who wants to rule the world. That Klaus right there. He's Svengali puppet master. We're not German, we're Swiss. He wants some too, man. He wants some, get some. He just gets it in a different way. His power is, he wants to be powerful because he wants to control the direction of his life. And that includes controlling the direction of your life. Got it? How cool is that? You will eat bugs and you will like it. You will own nothing and you will like it very, very much. We are Swiss. We're not German. Let's see. What else do we got here? Klaus from the Scorpions. I always think of Klaus Meine from the Scorpions, and Matthias Jobs and Michael Schenker. Let's see. You can't have a non-marriage relationship in Canada. The court ruled that a man owed alimony even though they were never married, nor did they live together. She's a yoga teacher now. Yeah, she's probably a very comfortably living yoga teacher as well. Yeah, what are you going to do? Show me how to live, Rollo? You are asking the wrong person that question. Ryan Gutierrez. Now we got to switch over into Latin. Ryan Gutierrez. Hello. Thank you, Rollo, for all you do. Looking forward to the audiobook of number 4. Number 4 is already out, my friend. I think you mean number 5. Number 4 has been out for a while. It is called Religion. To roll your R's for a Gutierrez. Sentaka, speaking of rolling your R's, thank you for those tacos. You get, what do you get for tacos? You get, Drew. There you go. You only get one of those. It's all tacos. It's not Taco Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. Hazakarn Doga Bakan. Is that? Gosh, that's a great name, by the way. I don't know what that means, but that's pretty cool. I like lots of letters and names. Why abortion is an issue in the U.S. Just keep it going and solve your issues. It's not something to linger on. Well, it is when it will win you an election. Thank you for playing. FBI, open up! Dung is fun. Oh, yes. Due to Roe v. Wade, can the government offer free vasectomies and tube ties? Only if they also offer free KY jelly for the penis-bearing humans who do not need either free vasectomies or tubes being tied. How dare you presume that a penis-bearing man would not need his tubes tied? Ow! Jacob Riviera. Advice for a 24-year-old who doesn't want to end up like Will Smith, want to end or doesn't want to end up black-pilled and wants kids in the future. Okay, here's your advice. Read all 5 of my books. And that's not, hey, shameless plug, right? Be educated. Okay? Don't be black pill. Because black pill is just all that is. By the way, all black pill is it's depression and it's nihilism. And remember, what did we just talk about? Nihilism. It's a feature, not a bug. You'll resort to nihilism if you believe that your circumstances are insurmountable, right? That's the logical conclusion. That's the evolutionary psychology of depression, of nihilism. By the way, nihilism also hopelessness. You guys want me to, God, here we are at the end of this goddamn show and I got it. We are 3 hours and 1 minute into this. I promised myself I wasn't going to go 2 hours and here we are at 3. I've said this before, that I don't believe that, merch. I don't think that, humans were meant to be happy or sad, right? We just are. Happiness and sadness are just means to an end to get us from one state to another state, right? And usually that state is to either survive, get some food, or fuck. Everybody wants them. Or something else, get sleep. There's other motivations, by the way, that don't have to necessarily be that visceral. But those emotions are what push us from one state to the next, okay? Well, if we didn't have a capacity for magical thinking, we probably would be very hopeless. So when you go like nihilistic, here's your advice, Mr. 24-year-old kid. first of all, to not to end up like Will Smith is you've got to, first of all, have, you've got to be, you got to understand what is it? The threat, right? There's nothing that is more threatening yet also arousing to women than a man who understands his own value to women. And he's willing to, like, you want to know why Andrew Tate is like the top G? It's because he understands his own value, and he understands his own value to women, and he's unapologetic about it. That's why I said he's a better teacher than, like, say, like Jordan Peterson or Matt Walsh or any of these other guys, right? Chris Williamson, if you're not going to get me on, at least get, and I hate to, I got to complain about Tate's, spam now and then, but you know what? If you're not going to have me on, at least get Tate on. Chris Williamson, go get Andrew Tate, and be sure to ask him about Michaela Peterson, because I think he's a better, more honest broker than somebody like Jordan Peterson is when it comes to relationships and when it comes to living life, because he's in a way, he's almost like the alpha Buddha in a sense. Like, he just does it because it seems like why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you be an alpha? Why wouldn't you be like this? Why wouldn't you want to be like me? It's like, it's so self-evident. And you may not want to be like the top G, but it's like the fact that he's like, he understands that so well, and that it just like naturally, fluidly comes out of his mouth. And he makes a lot of money off of it too, no lie. But honestly, I think he is a better teacher, an online teacher, better guru than Jordan Peterson, because he understands it and he lives it. That's why. Chris Williamson, interview. Tate's been trying to get on every goddamn show I've ever been on, like for the last like 6 or 8 months. I'm going to give you a plug, my friend. Chris Williamson, have him on. Rogan, have him on. He was already on that other show with that one chick. I can't remember her name. And he was just completely no bullshit, unapologetic. He's got no reason not to be. And so, like, when I look at stuff like this, your advice, I'm not saying you'll go be like the top G, but like the thing is as I said, he's a good representative of the threat. And the threat is this, is that there is nothing that is more threatening to women, yet simultaneously arousing to women, than a man who understands his own value to women and other men too. But like in this case, it was about women. And so if you can do that, if you understand what your own value is, that will keep you from being like Will Smith. Will Smith has no earthly clue what his value is to women in general, much less Jada Pinkett Smith. And as a result, she blows him off and fucks with him and fucks with him and fucks with him. Keeps pushing, please react, please do something, please, bust me in the chops or something like that. But instead he goes and he hits Chris Rock in the chops, right? Instead of going one way, he goes the other way. He hits right instead of left, right? And his children completely disrespect him. You know why? Because he doesn't know he's Will fucking Smith. That's why. He doesn't understand. He's not living it out. It's the same thing as Tiger Woods, right? When Tiger Woods had his moment, he's banging porn stars and hookers and Blue Martini in Orlando, by the way. He realized he was Will Smith. He realized his own value to women. That's why it's threatening to women. That's why it's also arousing to women. That's why you want to avoid being like Will Smith. That's what you have to do. Now, the other part of your question, here you go, for $4.99, by the way. Boy, what a great one this is. And then you don't want to end up black pilled and with the wife and kids. Okay, fine. Then what you do is you understand that nihilism is a failure in hope. It is a failure in your ability. It's a failure in your imagination is what it is. You can't imagine. If you cannot imagine success, you're fucked. And I say this as nice as I possibly can here, because if you've read my 4th book, I mentioned this in the magical. There's like a section. It's part of a chapter. I can't remember which chapter it was from, but I talked about magical thinking, and like people think that magical thinking is automatically negative. They think of it in terms of like Richard Dawkins, or they think of it in terms of like the Red Queen kind of stuff. It's like, oh well, magical thinking has led to religious atrocities across the world for ages and ages, and I can't believe people would think magical thinking would be a good thing. Yeah, it's responsible for some human atrocities, I will admit. Yes, but it's also responsibility for our greatest achievements as well. Because without magical thinking, we lack imagination. And you could take that imagination and you can turn it into human atrocities, absolutely. But you can also take that and make it into, you could put a man on the moon. Why are we going to go to the moon? I don't know. You think we can do it? Fuck yeah, let's do it. I imagine we can do it. Men look outward on the world. Women look inward. That's why women like people and men tend to look at things, tend to be interested in things. Again, Steven Pinker. But the idea that men are outward thinking. We want to men. One of the things I think that is a defining characteristic of conventional masculinity is this: it is that men, like men who understand their own value, right? Men affect their will upon the world. That is a defining aspect of being masculine. It is this want to control the world, to master it, and to make it our bitch, right? Oh, my wife is complaining because she has to wash dishes all the time. Don't worry, bitch. I'm going to figure out how to make a dishwasher so you can be happy. She'll never be happy, of course. But imagination, if we were to make a machine that washed dishes, how will we do that? That's you using magical thinking. It's imagination. It's not a bad thing or a good thing. It just is. If you fall into nihilism, as you're saying, I don't want to be black pill doomer, then don't lose your imagination that things might be better. Don't lose your imagination that you could put yourself on the moon. That's you want to know why these guys will always be losers and failures and fakes, and all they'll do is just bitch and moan and kvetch and chew their cud over like successful guys all the time. I wouldn't want to be like those guys. Don't worry, you never will. You never will. Remember what Arnold Schwarzenegger said? We wouldn't want to look like you. Don't worry, you never will. That's what he told them. You'll never be a success. That's what the way you've lost your magical thinking. You don't see a possible way to be successful in any way. You want to not be a black pill doomer? Don't lose your imagination. That's all the best I can give you, Mr. 24-year-old dude. Muscles, money, game, the secret recipe. Yes, because all of those together combine. Our powers combined, money, muscles, and game creates frame. And that creates a world. Your money, your muscles, and your game creates a world into which a woman wants to enter. And people, that is what makes you the man that other men want to be and other women want to flock. The end. Let's see. Keep going. Gosh, you guys are really active. We only got 1050. We got 1,050 people in the chat. Oh, wait, no, I got to make all these count. Got to make every last one of these count.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
There you go. No, we're putting those up today. This is the only show you'll get to see those. You'll get to see this porn spam because everybody wants some. I hate being right all the time. They wouldn't come to this show if that wasn't true. Rollo, what's coming is man-slut shaming is what Hafiz and Matt is demonstrating, and what they are is coming. No, dude, it's here. It's been here for a long time. I've been called a man whore more, and I only have a notch count of like 41. I'm a man whore. I got called a man whore, by the way, in 2018 by Pat Campbell's audience, because he said, well, what's your not? I made the mistake of revealing my notch count in Tulsa, Oklahoma on like live terrestrial radio one time. Like, I was 41. I didn't like, I thought 41, right? They're like, oh my God, oh my Lord.
How dare
I can't believe that.
I do not want to believe that.
Yeah, they did not want to believe that. The man whore thing's been around for a while, dude. And what they're promoting is monogamous companion relationships and not sexual relationships. Yes, be your friend, man. Don't worry. She won't fuck around on you, even though she is right now, because you wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't have an issue with the girls who are twerking to protest the abortion thing if the sex didn't make any difference. Sex is the glue that holds a relationship together, Bat. Man, where have I said that before? Oh, yeah, that's right. Pat Campbell. Did you watch the new Beavis and Butthead movie? I didn't know there was one. You mean that Beavis? Oh, sorry. Got to put that one on there. I apologize. There's that attention you wanted. Ben Lynch says, putting this super chat up for the fans so Rollo stays on longer. God damn it. I'm not, you know what? From here on out, I'm only going to answer these super chats. Love chat. I wonder what that looks like. Don't go there. Seriously, don't. Let's see. Oh, I got Danny here. Sorry, I missed some of these. I'll see if I can go scroll back through some of these. Oh, there's Danny. Sorry. Thoughts on bringing up red pill topics with your friends? Don't. I feel like it's a lost cause when they're heavily blue pilled. Yes, it is a lost cause. Choose your battles, my friend, because don't. You're new here, aren't you? Okay. Don't, because first of all, 48 laws of power. Number one, always say less than necessary. And then always never put too much trust in friends. That's number one. Number two is when you bring up, never appeal to truth unless you are willing to deal with the anger that comes from disillusionment. That's also from the 48 laws of power. Read those. Also from the Rational Male, unplugging chumps from the Matrix is dirty work. It is like triage. You unplug and help the ones you can, and read Last Rites to the Dying. That is for you. What is this? Mark. Okay, I got to Mark. Okay, no more. Don't give me any more, except for these. I'm putting more and more of these up there because that is today is the all sex issue. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. You're on. Okay, so here's the deal. I am going to be on Rule Zero on Saturday. This is the midweek show. Hopefully Tom will be able to mine some good clips out of this. So if you didn't get to the 3 hour and 13 minute mark, I can't say as I blame you, but thank you for being a part of today's show. I do this for you guys, especially the midweek show. But I felt like I needed to hammer on this. I might have got a little spicy today, and so did lovechat.x. There you go. However, go and check out, let's see, before I go, let's see who's hitting me up here. Oh, God damn it. I missed my appointment with Derek. And let's see, just got the Donovan Sharp who says, yo, you are making me cry with your Matt Walsh live stream, laughing my fucking ass off. I'm sure you are. I'm not trying to be funny. It's just coming out that way. That's funny. Let's see what else. Oh, yes. I am well aware of what's her bucket, Muni Cats or whatever. By the way, I want you to leave this stream right now and go over and watch Torsha podcast. Go watch Torsha tonight. She's going to go full savage on what is this chick's name? Tori, what was her name? She might be doing it right now. It's called Where the Lies Are. It is Munecat. She came at me. She came at Myron. She came at Fresh. She even came at John, at the fat kid in Brazil. She came at she was coming at everybody, and she's just clout jacking, and I'm not going to give her any more than just this very end of show attention, because I have been putting these up. Why wouldn't I put up Munecat? Hello. Oh, wait. As a matter of fact, hey, why not just show you Munecat right now? Here we go. How about this? Oops. Wait a minute. I have her on here. Go and give her shit. Go watch Torsha. Well, Torsha does not do OnlyFans. No, keep her off the pole. Keep her off the pole, baby. She's not. No, if she had OnlyFans, I would not co-brand with her. I would not partner with her. She knows that too. I've said as much. I will explain to you about Torsha here in a little while. No, damn it. Where'd that go? Share the screen. There we go. Where is Munecat? Munecat. Ah, there you are. Hold on. Here we go. You have to see this. This was too good. I did this thumbnail for Tori for this one. This is the Munecat one. That's her, man. That's not Torsha. I know that's not Torsha. She doesn't have blue eyes. She has brown eyes. But this is Munecat. She came at me, and she came at I'm surprised she didn't come at Tori, but she came at everybody in the manosphere, and it's like I'm like Pontius Pilate. I wash my hands of this bitch, but that, my washing the hands might be her opportunity. But so go over and watch Tori as she like eviscerates. She's going to go full savage barbarian on this girl. So do go check that out. That, if nothing else, it will be very entertaining. It will be very, very humorous. Go check out Tori's site. Just look up Torsha podcast on YouTube. I forget I don't even think she has a dedicated URL for her show just yet. But do go check that out. Derek, I see you I'm about to call you. Just give me 1 sec. Oh, that's O'Neill. O'Neill, just give me a second. I'll be done with the show in just a moment. What's her channel? Let me just look at, I'll put it in the chat here for you real quick. I feel like I at least owe her that. Hang on. Torsha podcast, TORSHAA podcast. And there it is. And when is she going to go full savage on this girl? I don't know. It is. Okay, she does have her own thing. Okay, so it's just, I will put this in the chat so you can see what it is. This is Tori's site right here. I think I owe her anything, but this is This is Torsh's. Excuse me. This is Tori's site right here. There you go. C/Torsha with a capital T. There you go. Go check that out. She's going to go full barbarian, full Attila the Hun on Municat, which I think I'm going to, if nothing else, I will be in the chat for that one. So do check that out. I think that'll be a good time will be had by all. What else? I think that's it, guys. I will be on freshman pit. I will be on Rule Zero finally on Saturday. I don't know if I'm hosting or if it is someone else. It might be Troy. I think Troy is hosting on this Saturday. It's a holiday weekend here in the United States of America. Tomorrow, I'm going to be taking my wave runners out and I'm doing lots of live video just so I can draw more attention to livechat.xyz. Go check them out because this is the all anal beads episode. Got it? Okay, so there you have it. I hope this has enlightened you to why abortion is a baba miza. You know what a baba miza is? It's Yiddish. It's an old wives' tale. It's Yiddish for old wives' tale. It's a baba miza. It's bullshit. It's a wives' tale. It's horseshit. It's a scam. The whole thing about abortion right now, again, remember that it is emotion versus emotion. And this is what I was going to leave you guys with. Matt Walsh does you no favors. He does himself no favors. And the reason I say he does us no favors is because he is making an emotional argument to defeat another emotional argument. I brought this to light back when he went head to head with the bearded lady on Dr. Phil when he was supposed to be doing What is a Woman, right? Now we know it was because it was a documentary and that was kind of like disingenuous of him. But it is what it is because it serves as a good example of how the left and how the right don't care about solving problems. They care about perpetuating problems. That's what Matt Walsh is about. Perpetuating problems, because if there is no boogeyman, no one gets paid. In this case, the boogeyman happens to be abortion. And if he can't, at the end of his show, make a case for marriage and all this good stuff, he can't appeal to his audience, which is all about that and personal responsibility, but we don't know anything about authority. He is most definitely fully embedded in the same bullshit that he seems to be wanting to fight. Okay? So you have the emotional side, which is abortion rights activists and the left and the furry women. Release the furry women, the fuchsia-haired wokesy women on one side, and then you've got the moral panic, moralistic emotionalists on the Trandcons side. And if you're pandering to one audience, you can't pander to the other. One of them is the boogeyman and one of them is not is making the money. So keep that in mind, because when you look at things from a rational perspective, when you look at things from an objective perspective, and you look at the nuts and bolts and you look at the statistics and the research, it's all in your favor. You can sort this out and parse this out. You will never come to a solution about abortion or the left versus the right or having I got a question today. What was it? How do I navigate the sexual marketplace? How do I have a good marriage? How do I not get nihilistic? How do I not become Will Smith? How do I avoid that? I will tell you the first step in that is becoming realistic. It's not listening to guys like Matt. It's not listening to guys like Hafiz. It's not listening to Municat. It's not listening to Ben Shapiro. It's not listening to Tommy Lahren. It's not listening to these people because they have an agenda. They want affirmation for their convictions because those convictions make them money. That's why. That's what this is all about. It's about the boogeyman making these people money. And that's where he's at right now. And that's why I'm leaving you with this. This is an emotional argument from the conservative, quote unquote, based Trandcon side versus the degenerate, abortion hobbyists and abortion enthusiasts on the other side. And you know what? Nothing happens. That's why we're still talking about this bullshit in 2022. That's why we're still here. That's why we're still using the same language militant feminists used in 1970, Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, all that other crap. That's why we're still referring back to this shit. That's why we're still using terminology from the mid 80s for the moral majority, just like fucking Matt Walsh. Okay. It's the same shit. And until we can eliminate emotionalism with empiricism and reason, you are going to continue this cycle of horseshit until something serious happens. When we were talking about how magical thinking leads to atrocities, that magical thinking is exactly what Matt Walsh is peddling. That's and it's also, by the way, exactly what the woke left that he seems to want to use a setup as an example is using as well. Until we start talking about things and having a discussion in empirical, rational, objective languages, and we reject the gender pronouns and the languages of the left, and we reject the bullshit convictions of the right, we will never solve this problem because they don't want to solve this problem. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Let's rock!
Preceding podcast has been a production of The Rational Male, registered trademark 2022.